Right, so from now on, I'll be taking over this fully until the end of the semester, which is actually only 5 weeks from now, you see. So today is week 8, and then after that, on week 11 and week 12, I think there will be double classes, meaning that you will have one class in the morning, Saturday morning, and then one in the Sunday afternoon, okay? So that is how we will end the class, basically. So essentially, time-wise, you only have about 5 weeks, yes. And that is only about another month or so, okay? So yeah, I mean, for those of you who are here for 2 semesters already, I think you already know what exam is going to be all about, and you know, you are more prepared, hopefully this time, than your last semester. And those of you who are new here, there's about 4 or 5 of you who are new here. I think you all will be the first time going through this, and yeah, I mean, like, I really hope that you know, actually for Unimas to graduate, to pass through every semester, you have to get a CGPA of more than 3 or more lah, and if first sem you don't have more than 3 CGPA, or any one of the sem that you don't have more than 1 CGPA, 3 CGPA, first time is still okay. We still let you pass through. But second time, if there's a consecutive second time that you don't make it to 3, the system will automatically gagal berhenti you lah, So it means that if like for those of you who are first time here, so this sem, if you get 2.9, 2.8, you are still okay. You still can move on. You pass everything. You still can move on to the next sem. But if, let's say, the following sem, you're still in the 2.9, you improve, but it didn't go more than up to 3, you will be gagal berhenti, meaning that everything will be stopped. Okay, so you can't come back for the next semester. You can't do anything really. There's going to be very difficult. It's going to be very difficult to appeal and all that. Okay, so I think every subject counts. Okay. And those of you who are last sem less than 3, this sem you really have to find a way to be more than 3, So no matter what, you have to get 65, 70, macam tu. Your marks have to be 70, 65, at least 70 and above, I mean, 70 and above is quite minimum already. So 1, 2 subject, you get 65, the rest you get 70, 70 plus, it should be okay, So that should be your target when you do your assignments and all that. Okay, so this is something, I mean, like, I know I always talk about these things, because it's just a habit that I have, because I'm also the Masters of Engineering coordinator, and I really want to emphasize this again and again to all the students so that this is the rule, because I don't want you to, pay for one sem, then pay for second sem, and then at the end of the second sem, you got kicked out kind of thing, and then you don't get your Masters at all. That could be the situation, you see. At the moment, I have the students yesterday, they went through because of research project, the last subject is research project. Told him many times, please, please, please do something about it. Do something about it. See your supervisor. And then the supervisor now failed him. Examiner also failed him. And then we gave him more time to repair the work and all that. And up all the way, faculty is helping him. But now, go to CGS says no, you see. So now me and Dekan and a lot of people are still having a headache. He has got everything passed already, and now RP cannot pass, you see. So, and start lah because of that. No, start lah because if he really didn't get through, then too bad lah. Like, there's nothing we can do anymore, really. Like, we have already helped him all the way, and giving him extra time before the jana and all that to repair his work and all that. So it's been a long, tiring process for the last 2 months trying to sort these things out. But unfortunately, yesterday meeting, I think they're meeting until 7 or 8 o'clock on this some of these matters, and the result is they are not going to let him pass, you see. So we are still thinking, like, what else can we do, you see. So it's very serious consequences, huh? Please, I mean, you all should really understand what kind of position you are in. Okay. And anyway, so that is some warning stuff which I give every early Saturday morning, so I know you are probably very tired of me talking about it, but I have to keep on emphasizing and re-emphasizing, especially with some of you who has less than 3 CGPA, and some of you have already got complaints that you're not really doing your RP as well, that kind of thing. So yeah, I mean, like, don't think that, oh yeah lah, I have no time to do my RP lah, and then I fell lah, never mind, I don't want to stress myself. Yeah, it's okay, you fell, it's okay. I mean, I'm not trying to say that you should really get yourself go cook-a-doodle-doo because of RP, but then you have to know that there is consequences later on, right? That you get to pay a price for it. It could actually mean, just one RP could actually mean that you can't graduate later on, okay? Right, so that is something that we have to re-emphasize. And for this particular course, again, this is the first time we run this sort of subjects. We also do not know exactly, how much is the tolerance level and how much you can absorb, and how well you can handle this sort of topics, you see. So as usual, we also don't want to overload you, and yet we have to give you enough information, that. So these 5 weeks, most likely what I will do is we will have a class every day. Every week you need to come in and do your attendance recording, but there may be some classes, like for example, alternate week. Like this week we have class, next week we probably don't have a class, but I will post up lecture recording for you, and you listen to it, and then the following week we come back, we have another class, and we have some discussion, and also we have some discussion on the assignments and all that. The reason being also because this semester I'm also involved with my Masters of Engineering, the project management classes. So that kind of overload everything on the both sides. Okay. Can you still hear me?
Yes, can, Doctor.
Okay, my computer suddenly shut down. I think because my the plug to my the charger, the plug is not fixed properly onto the socket. So that's why it went off. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, what is this? This is QR. Can you? Okay. All right. So yes. Right. So we have yeah, this is how we're gonna run the class basically So the classes will be like, I haven't really decided yet actually, so we may have to come back and do a proper classes every week, but we'll see how it goes because of the commitment on the both side. Not that I want that commitment, honestly, I do not want my weekend like this, you see. I mean, I do not want to have like Saturday class, Sunday class. This is the weekend, you see. So but unfortunately, because we are very short of staff, especially in engineering management, I also want to, tell Dr. Ling that, I cannot teach this sem, because last sem I was teaching 2 subjects as well, you see. So unfortunately, in terms of contracts and in terms of all these legal stuff, I'm the only one in UNIMAS that is actually in engineering that is actually teaching this sort of thing. So I can't escape, you see. And from Masters of Engineering side, we are also very, very short of staff at the moment because Madam Rohaida is actually still doing her PhD and we can't actually get her to come in and help a little bit. So everything is Dr. Lee and me, so the two of us is like almost on a bang sang already. Yeah. So but never mind, we will do our best, huh? So these classes here that I'm gonna take on is not gonna be on legislation anymore. It's not gonna be on law anymore. So we are gonna be moving into contractual issues, and contract issues, I believe, is something that most of you will actually come across, and you all will be like quite interested in it. Most of you will be quite interested in it, I think, because of your work. You are working in the area, you are working in the situation, and or in the office dealing with these sort of things. Some of you are QSs, I believe, and some of you are engineers who actually deals a lot with projects. So you actually deal with contract a lot without you even realizing it. So some of you already realize it, but some of you have not realized it. But the thing that we mentioned here, you realize that, I'm doing that. You see, I'm doing that all the time. You see, so then you realize that, oh, okay, so I have been doing it right. I haven't been doing it right. So you actually kind of come across it, but you didn't realize that this is actually contractual matters. Okay, so for contractual matters, actually, I've designed it in such a way that we're going to have about 3 to 4 contract classes covering some of the major issues in contract. And you will see that I will be basing my example a lot in construction projects. You see? So I will tell you that it's going to be in construction projects because this sort of specialties, I really cannot speak for mechanical, manufacturing, chemical kind of if your industry have a very specific contract, I'm actually not familiar with it. So I cannot actually speak for them, you see. So I will go in the areas that I am, it's considered as an expert in. So, and then from there, I hope that you can relate that to your industry. And as much as possible, if you do want to have some, like if you don't understand it with respect to your industry, I would really like you to bring it up during the class. And we can maybe discuss it and see if I can input that, input my knowledge into that area that you are not sure of, you see. So it is a very relaxed discussion-based kind of classes, and then hopefully you learn something from it. And most of our classes will go on for about 90 minutes, like the core stuff will go on for about 90 minutes to 2 hours, less than 2 hours. Then we're going to have some discussion in your assignments, which you will have individual assignment from me, very short individual assignment from me, 4 case studies sort of things, because group assignment you've already done with Dr. Ambrose. So this is mainly individual assignment that you've got to complete. And I try to set it in such a way because I've already know the standards of the last batch students. So I kind of know that, we really cannot have anything too outstandingly heavy in that sense, So I've actually mapped it out in such a way that it's going to be like a cute question answer kind of thing, like a tutorial kind of way of you doing individual assignments with about 4 to 5 pages, kind of thing, just to fulfill the individual assignments kind of marks, you see, because if I give you a really, really long and like work out a big huge stretch of the assignment sort of things, something that is really, really long and writing and all that, I believe the time is also very short now at the moment because we're already in week 8 and we're closing this thing in week 12, you see. So we really cannot have anything too heavy. So that's why I get Dr. Ambrose to give you the project first, which is usually a bit longer, a lot of work, and then so we give it to you as early as possible. The individual assignment, you will probably be like, answer some questions, write a little bit on that, and maybe every assignment is only about 4 to 5 pages. It's more like Q&A kind of thing, a case studies based sort of things, you see. So we will talk about that later on. And yeah, so there will be about 4 areas that I'll be covering, mainly in delays, which is time related. And then I'll be looking into money related. Next week, it will be on payment related stuff. So anything to do with money, I will try to cover that during next week. And next week is most likely going to be a pre-recorded lecture, meaning that I will come to class, I will take your attendance, and then after taking the attendance, I will post up all the recordings. Usually, if by pre-recorded, there will be about 7, 8, 9, maximum 10 recordings. Of every recording should be about 10 minutes. So the most is you will go up to about 90 minutes or so maximum lah. And why? Because my recordings are always in 10 minutes. So every 10 minutes I stop, every 10 minutes I stop, and then you all listen also. It's a lot easier lah in that sense because you all can listen 10 minutes, and then you digest. If you don't understand, you re-listen back again, and then once you're done with it, you go to the next 10 minutes. So every 10 minutes, 10 minutes. So if let's say after you listen to everything, there are 1 or 2 parts that you don't understand, you still can go back to that particular recording. You don't have to search, like up and down, So that is my style of doing a pre-recorded lecture with you. So I'm not sure if I did last sem, but for those of you who are not familiar, that would be how I would do my pre-recorded lecture. So after you've done your lecture, after you listen to your pre-recorded lecture, you can go to the assignment and start to work on the assignment sort of thing. So after today's class, you will have your first assignment, and then from there you will hand it in. I'll get you to hand it in all at the same time. But as we go along the classes, we will do discussion on assignment. Okay. Then after that, we also have dealing with anything to do with quality issues. I basically base it on time cost quality. You see, so quality issues, I'll be looking into things like variation. I'll be looking into things like standing supervision, opening up of the work that you've done, and also materials, like how, when you send materials to your project, and how you actually in the contract, how they actually cover those sort of issues. And then machineries, and there are a few clauses that they'll be stating things like machineries, how acceptable, not acceptable when the machinery comes on site. Is it considered as a property of the site, and all that. So we will cover that as well. So the topics are very specific, So some topics are longer, some topics are a bit shorter. And then for the 4th lecture, I am actually thinking about going in and give you, I will see how the first 3 goes. If there are other outstanding issues that we need to cover, like things like, if there's many outstanding issues that we need to cover, then we will cover it in the 4th lecture. But if I find that I can cover most of the contract clauses already in the first 3 classes, then we will forego the 4th class. But likely, if we will need to have another class on other outstanding issues, such as nominated supplier, nominated subcontractors, insurances, and other things like instructions, So I will see how detailed it is. If there's a lot of things to cover, we will have a class for it, most likely. Okay. Then I think it's also important for me to cover the law of tort, TORT. So there will be a sessions on law of tort. I'm not sure whether that is actually covered in the. I forgot whether that is actually covered in the. Did Dr. Ambrose cover that with you? No, right? I think it wasn't part of the syllabus, but being engineers, most of you are being engineers or professionals, even QSs or architects, or you all are being binded by the law of tort. It's about duty of care, standard of care, and negligence. So this is more on the ethics part of being an engineer. So we should be able to cover one of that. And then the last 2 classes, I'll be covering on dispute resolution, including adjudication. And if we cannot cover adjudication, I will cover that in the last class, a very short last class plus an exam sessions. So last class, definitely we will have a last class before you sit for your exams. And now is a good time that you start to discuss with Dr. Lim about your exams, okay? Your examination schedules and all that. So some of you as a class representative, maybe you can start to discuss with Dr. Lim when you want to sit for your exam, because for my main classes, I've already set the exam as 7, 8, and also 10 10th is a Tuesday. So those, I know that last sem, the batch really don't want to have any weekdays exams. So they squish everything into the weekend. So I'm not sure whether that was actually helpful for you to do well last sem, you see. So you may want to not practice like that, you see. So maybe you can take a day off for one of the subject or something like that. Okay. So yeah, I mean, that is up to you to discuss with Dr. Lin. We are quite flexible about it. Yeah. So give her a thinker and see what she says, and yeah, and she will discuss with the lecturers as well. Okay? Right. But I do not think that it's a good idea to do like 3 subjects in 3 or 4 subjects over one weekend. You tire yourself out and you don't perform well, and you need that grades to actually get through, you see. So it's better that you take your day off, like one day, like do exam every single day kind of thing, It's fine. I mean, like, it's actually completely fine to take a day off work, you see, or even half day off work, because most exams are just half a day or so. So there's no reason why you should be having problems, like, it's the commitment. Like, you've already taken up masters, your bosses know about it, you know about it, so you can't say things like, oh, my work is so heavy that, I'm so busy with my work, It's a commitment that you make, We didn't push you, we didn't force you to come and do masters with us, you see. But the work commitment is all there already. So you cannot keep on saying that, I'm so busy with this, I'm so busy with that, So then so busy, you don't take master, you don't graduate lah. It's very simple, man. It's life, you see. Everything, there's a balance, there's a give and take, All right. And that is how we will be running the next 5 weeks, 5 weeks with 7 LUs. Any questions so far? Anything that you want me to speak to you about? I mean, you all are very quiet. You don't have to be worried about me, I mean, like, I'm a very straightforward person, what I know, I know, what I don't know, I don't know. I will try to help, you see. So I know some of you are like not really, like, you think that I'm a very harsh kind of person. So every time you come to my classes, or when you want to ask me something, you really go like, 20 miles down the road and try to shout or something, or go around me, like turning a circle around me sort of things, you see. Yeah, but yeah, I'm a very practical kind of person. I don't want to lie to you and, like give you something that is impractical and tell you all the flowery things, and then you end up not doing well, and then you start to feel like, yeah, that you've been cheated or something like that. Okay. Anything from the floor?
Hi, Dr. Ting. This is Riley.
Yeah, Riley. Yes.
Yeah, basically just to ask a question regarding the final exam, right? So, do we have specific duration, time or week for the final exam? Like we must finish on the 1st or 2nd week of the June or something like that, lah. Yep.
Because the Jana means the university way of saying that the result needs to be out open in the system for everybody to view, which means the result is already confirmed. Okay, so the confirmed result will be out. Supposed to be we will Jana it on the 18th of May. But whether you can see or not is one thing, but in the university systems, that is already considered as a close. So we cannot go back in and change the marks and anything like that anymore after the Jana. So every lecturer has to make it before the Jana. So if I work backwards from Jana date, that means you have to finish sitting for your exam and your RP, your RP presentation and report submission. Everything usually has to be a week earlier, because you do need to let the lecturers have time to mark. We will have to give them at least a week to mark. That is only fair. Then after that, from that week, you see, like, let's say 17, everything has to be in the system already for the confirmation on the 18th. That means everything has to be handed in on the 11th, the latest 11th, or 10th or 11th. So 10 or 11, 10 or 11, we need to make sure that you finish submission, finish your exams and all that. So yeah, 11th will probably be the last day that, you can, for all the students to actually do submissions on their report, assignments, everything, like the last day, any extension over that date also we cannot give anymore. even if the lecturers give me one or two of you a specific extension, that is the goodwill of the particular lecturers that he or she is willing to mark you all in very, very, very short time, because we are also constrained by that deadline. And then also normally by the, let's say we finish exam submission, everything by the 10th. Normally, we will have a marks meeting. So the marks meeting between all the lecturers on all the subjects will come on the 14th or 15th. Why? Because the practice is for, okay, we would like you to resit for your exam first. Let's say if you do fail, your resitting will most likely to be that weekend, that following weekend immediately, you see. And during that resitting, instead we can actually go by the easy way, right? You know, we can go by the easy way because there is a formal way of asking you to apply for resitting, meaning there's a mark semula. Okay, so after Jana, you actually can resit. You can apply, you know, for re-examination and all that. But that you need to pay $50 and it will drag on your results. So normally what we do is we will give a chance for you all to resit for anything that you fail. If you don't fail too badly, meaning that the passing mark is 60, you fail with maybe 50 something, along the 50 something line, we will still most likely to get you to come back for resitting. But if your marks is really too far off, like even anything like 52 already, you will have problem with resitting already, meaning that the marks may be a bit too far off, you see. But we will still, as long as you're in the 50 kind of region, likely is you'll be called for resitting. And that resitting is unofficial resitting. We are actually helping you all to pass it first before, you know, you go for the official procedures if you need to, you see. And then we, that is our styles. So I think that is something that we've been practicing all this while, you see. Then after that, yeah, and after that, by Monday or Tuesday, which is 16 or 17, the grades have to be completely in the system, and then the result will be released later on. So yeah, that is the thing that that's a timeline that we're going for. So yeah, to your question, yes, we do have a specific time frame that we need to adhere to. So unfortunately, we will not be able to say give you a 2 weeks extension, 3 weeks extension, you know, kind of thing. It's just not possible because we are constrained by the process kerja in the universities, whereby the result needs to go to the CGS, whereby there will be a CGS. CGS is Center of Graduate Studies, which they're in charge of all the masters, postgraduate and postgraduate study, including PhD and masters. They will have a meeting, and then the result from the meeting will also go to the Senate, and then the Senate will confirm the result before they release the result to you. Okay, so yeah, so from CGS onwards, faculty cannot control already. It's out of our hands completely, honestly. Yeah. Okay, so does that answer your question?
Yes, doctor, very clear.
Okay, so yeah, you need to be prepared. Your likely is your oral presentation for your RP will come in after Raya, not after Raya, after the Raya public holiday, which is 2nd and 3rd, I think, or 3rd and 4th. So most likely your RP presentation will be on the 6th, okay? And then you start to sit for exam on the 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, that 4 days, you see? So work it out, that 4 days. I know it's very, very tight. I mean, unfortunately, that's how it is. It used to be when we have 2 long SEM, 1 short SEM, it's a lot, there's a lot more room to move. We have extra time, you know, we have maybe after your exam, we still have about 2 weeks or so, you know, for you all to, for us, you and I, you know, or you and the lecturers to kind of like move around and, you know, adjust things and whatever. Now we barely have a week. Yeah, we barely have a week. If we don't treat the lecturers right also, because these are all extra work, you know, so if we don't treat the lecturers right, you know, we give them work like finish exam today and can you give me the marks tomorrow? You know, some of them may quit teaching, you know, and never want to teach again. So we also don't want that to happen. That's why we have to be very careful. We need to balance between the students and the lecturers also. So that we give them enough time. Most likely they are all very helpful. Most of them are very helpful people. You know, even you ask for extra 1 or 2 days, you know, within their ability, they will also still give you lah. But that means they are actually putting themselves in a position that they have to rush your marking later on as well. Yeah. So in all your exams at the moment, we haven't heard any news yet. Most likely it will be still online. And online we have two modes. One of them is called online face-to-face, meaning that you have to on your camera and do an online exam, meaning that there will be an invigilator. Your lecturer will be looking at you throughout the whole entire exam. And usually those exams will be around 3 hours only. Like the normal exam, it's just that you will be just doing it on your computer with your camera on. And there are lecturers who will choose what we call an asynchronous method, meaning we are going to do a take-home exam. Okay, so take-home exam is usually a lot longer. It will take about 4, 5, 6 hours. You will submit the paper. You will upload the paper. You don't have to on your camera. You will do it at your own time in that specific time frame. Let's say if the online take-home exam is 8 to 12 or 8 to 1 p.m. So you will upload the paper around 8 a.m. and then you will go to your own, you know, lobang somewhere, cave somewhere to do your exams. And you are allowed to open book. You are allowed to look for information online. You are allowed to read the notes. You are allowed, okay? Then by the time 1 o'clock comes, if it's a 5 hours exam, 1 o'clock, before 1 o'clock, you have to start to upload everything back into eLearning. Well, these are the questions you can ask all your friends from last sem. Are they easy? You know, and a lot of people do fail the take-home exams because the take-home exam is worded and is designed in such a way that it is no straightforward answer. There's no such thing as define this, you know, explain the process of this, you know, like something that you can just copy and paste, you know, from the online or from the notes, you see. You can't. Most of them will be very, very application requiring you to take the knowledge that you have and, you know, redigest it and rewrite it into application to your workplace or application to your examples. And there will be twists in the questions that actually it's not about answering that question, but you need to answer that question to answer another thing kind of thing. So take-home exams are actually most people, honestly speaking, I was actually a bit surprised as well. But and I'm not saying this because I'm proud of it. Quality management and project management, the failing rate was actually quite high, and me and Dr. Lee was really, really upset by it. And because you see, when you fail exams, it is not like we are going to be so happy, you know. For us as lecturers, we have a lot of things to answer one. In the marks meeting, we have to tell everybody why it's failed. We have to write reports. We have to arrange for you to sit for extra exams. So as much as possible, we will already try to pass you. So if you hear the news of you failing, it really means that we have already tried our best to give you marks from every single direction. So because there are take-home exams, both of those subjects are actually take-home exams. And I don't know why. Maybe people are not treating it very seriously. And some of them actually did not answer the question even properly to the right way. Like you ask A, they answer B. You see, so it's not answering to the question. Maybe because they do not know where to find the materials, they haven't done their revision, and they don't know how, they do not understand the materials involved because they have not done their revision, they have not read the notes, or only during the exam time, they go to the notes and then oh yeah, this is about it. And then they read the question, yeah, this is about QC. I take this and I copy this and I put it down. So this is the way that the attitude maybe towards take-home exams. And that is the reason why take-home exams end up to be quite difficult in that sense, more difficult than just online face-to-face exam. I did all this actually during the last class, and I will explain to you how you should be preparing yourself for your take-home exam, because for this subject, we will also have a take-home exam later on. Okay, so I think that is a rough gist of what is going to be happening in the next 5 to 6 weeks, including exam weeks. Any other questions from anyone else? Anything you put in a chat box that I didn't see? So far, okay. Anything else, especially for the new students, Fazana, Amalina, you know, I haven't met you all before, but the others I kind of know better because they are here last sem. Riley, you know, Amalina, Fazana, Amira. Fazana,
All
I
good,
know.
Doctor.
Yeah. Fazana, I know you quite well already since you are my ex-students, and also so you are my RP students as well. Okay, so I think it's not much of an issue. What about from the old gang? Clarence, Albert, Latia, Victor, okay.
Good morning, Doctor.
Yes, Amira.
For the exam, is it handwritten or typewritten?
That one you better refer to the individual lecturer. Okay, so during the last class, try to ask them about it. I mean, like for us, my style is I will definitely give you an exam sessions, meaning that there will be last class, last 1 to 2 hours. I'll be focusing fully on answering any questions that you have on exams and briefing you on the type of the method that you should be revising, and also answering the questions and whether it's going to be typed or written or all that. So I will be covering that with you. For take home, definitely type out, okay, typing it out. But for online face-to-face, you need to chat with the individual lecturers, whether they prefer you to, most of them will prefer you to actually type, okay, and PDF it. But some of them may be saying that it's okay if there are some parts that you actually do calculations, so you want to write. You know, like last time there is a lot of calculation question from one of the finance paper. So I think they are probably okay with you writing and scanning and then putting it back online. That's also fine. So there is no exact rules to that. It's very much dependent on the individual lecturers who are involved with the exams. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
So yeah, if there's no other questions, we will move on to our class. And yeah, if there's any other things that we need to cover, I'll be more than happy to stay back with you later on. Okay, so basically here we are looking into the time issue, okay, of contract. Anything to do with time is covered during this course, okay? And before I move into the topic of delays, you know, I think it's a bit too shocking to give you the word delay so early on. So you have to understand that in a specific, let me open up another file. You see, engineering stakeholders, basically we have the client, consultants, and contractor. These are quite common. So for those of you who are not from the construction or civil engineering industry, we don't use the word contractor. We probably use the word suppliers or developer, developer of software, developer of the or service provider. Some of you will put it that way. But most of you will probably still use the word contractor because they are not really just about construction. They are also about building something, building a factory line or building a system you know. Or sometimes we call them service provider. For maybe telecommunication people, they'll be called service provider most likely. And then yeah. But consultants are the designers, the people who actually design the facilities, doing all the calculations, doing all the drawings, doing all the designs. So these are the consultants or the engineering consultancy practitioners. So yeah, this one their job is, you know, to consult, you know, for to actually give good engineering judgment, make decision, you know, and helping the client to actually come up, you know, make their idea into a specific set of drawings and calculations, and then the contractors or the people who actually built it will actually turn it into the reality. So these are the relationship between the parties in the contract, you see. So there are actually a lot of parties. Even consultants itself, we will have many parties. We can have the civil, the architect, the M&E, and then you may also have QSs, and not may have, normally you would have QSs as well in the picture. And then yeah, mechanical, electrical, nowadays we have a lot of other specialist consultants as well, like fabrication, maybe, fabricating engineers, people who are into IBS, the IBS engineers, all these things are mostly their roles are to be dealing with the design component of the job. Okay, so the client will be the people who actually owns the project, and they may not be the end user. So the client and end user can be two different people. They can be the same people. So let's say if you work in a factory, so you want to build a new manufacturing plant or manufacturing lines. So the client is, your company is the client. So they engage a consultant, or with their own in-house engineers, they will actually work with the consultant to come up with the designs. And then the builder will come in and do construction. And then maybe the consultant will be the one that is supervising the work, or the client in-house engineers will be the one supervising the work, whether it's up to the standard required. So basically, there is these major three parties involved. All of them will have engineers involved, see? And they are the primary stakeholders in any project organization or project coalition or project cooperation with one another. So basically, they have their own responsibilities, see, and they have their own things to contribute in the project, and they have their own reward that they need to have from the project. So there is interaction, there is a strong interaction and interrelationship between all these different participants in the project. And in today's world, it is not about sitting down here and you and I thought, hey, you want to be the client, I want to be the consultant. This is not playing a game of Monopoly here, you see. So nothing is fake. Everything is dealing with, resources, money, material, capital, fundings, we're talking about millions of dollars, billions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars, all this while, nowadays. So engineers, we deal a lot with resources. So we have to take our responsibilities and our duties very responsibly, honestly, fairly, fairly and ethically. And all these are actually this transaction or this business transaction between the different parties is considered as formal transactions that are actually covered under the law of Malaysia. Okay, so it's not about just us talking and then I sit down and write a few words and this is the contract you sign, I sign, and therefore we are off to do this work, and then people will be and then the client will give you $2-3 million or $5-6-7 million or $10-20 million to be in charge of, and then you can sign and spend the money for him or her. I mean, unless the client is your father then that's a different thing or your grandfather, then no need contract So, but all the transactions between the parties, the relationship between the parties are actually governed. So in every contract, we will see that there is the last clause that says that the law of Malaysia will govern this contract. Or this contract will be governed, or this agreement will be governed by the law of Malaysia. Meaning that it not only is stated there that way, it will also be bring to the LHDN for stamping. And when it's stamped, basically it is registered as a formal contract in the eyes of the government. And everybody needs to follow the rules. So when you set up a contract between the different parties in the contract, okay, you are essentially forming a contractual relationship. So it is right to say that every project is a contract. So every project will be carried out in a contractual environment. First, by forming the contract in a contractual environment. And what is a contractual environment? The contractual environment is the Contract Act of Malaysia, whereby you have those elements of offer, acceptance, consideration, and then what else? Intention to create a legal relation, who can contract, who can sign the contract, and then you must be not, there shouldn't be any element of mistake, misrepresentation in the contract. Okay, so offer, acceptance, consideration, intentions to create legal relations, counter offers, final acceptance, formally doing a contract and bringing it for stamping. All these are what we call elements of contract. And without any of these elements, there is no contract. See? So this relationship between the parties, first and start off, is under the umbrella of the Contract Act of Malaysia. So to design this contract, you must have to start this contract. You must have all these elements in place. You see, consideration meaning that there's something of value passing through the parties in the contract. So Dr. Ambrose covered that with you. That is the basis. That is the legislation. That is the law of Malaysia. So when you form any contract, you must have all these elements within the contract. So there must be an intention to legally create the relation. It cannot be you and I. Let's say I have an offer. I offer you, after class, I bring the 10 of you to Hilton for lunch, you see, and I'll be paying 200 ringgit for everybody. So that's the offer. So you guys are very happy. You say, okay, I'll see you there, Dr. Ting. We all accept the offer. So there's offer, there's acceptance, correct or not? And then there is consideration. Everyone I have to pay $200. There is even 1 ringgit is a consideration. So you're talking about 10 of you, I am going to be spending $2,000 on you guys, you see. So there is some kind of consideration. But then later on, when you go to the Hilton and wait for me, I never show up. Or you eat, and then I never go and pay. I disappear. Can you sue me? Can you bring me to court? Can you make a police report saying that I'm a con man? Basically, this is done in a very social kind of environment, where there is no intention to create that legal relations, correct? I'm not going to sit down and sign a contract. Of course, there are other things like oral contract is also a contract kind of thing, but there was never intention to create a legal relations, you see. So I wasn't going to sign a contract with you. I wasn't putting it down on black and white. I wasn't really promising you in a very formal kind of manner. Okay, and it's a very social kind of context. And as usual, with things like social and family context, a lot of things have to be very careful. It's just like your dad, when you're young, you've got 10 brothers and sisters, and then he promised you that, when you grow older, I'm going to give you this house. Maybe he has like a lot of property, maybe, let's say like you're a very rich father. So your father said that, when you're a little girl, he loves you a lot, and our little boy, he loves you a lot. And he said, Riley, when you grow up, I'll give this house to you. Then I'll give this house to you. And when he, sorry, touch wood, passed away, then it didn't happen, you see. So can you sue your dad? Of course, no, like, but it's a very family kind of context, a family, of course, family context in terms of certain level, you still can go to court and, fight on, there's a lot of cases of family going to court fighting for the parents' property or each other's property, all sort of things, who can legally inherit that thing, you see. So, but normally in general consideration, in the contractual consideration, these people, they are not usually families, they're not usually like, made in a very friendly, very social kind of environment. So this interaction will start off from there. You see, start off from the earlier on, from there that you write down all, you have the elements first, and then you have that intention to create the legal relationship through a proper formal agreement. And that agreement inside there will set down, as a client, I will do this, I'll be responsible for this. And then as a consultant, as an SO, consultant SO, or consultant SO representative, my job is this, my duty is this, my obligation is this, my right is this, and the contractor is the same. So basically, you will have terms and conditions in the contract that lists down how you are behaving, how you actually behaving and interacting with one another in the contract. Okay, so when you enter into the contract, the behavior, the interaction, the relationship is already set. So you cannot move anything out of this relationship. When you're already signing the contract, making it a legal document, you cannot keep on saying that, hey, people don't practice like that. I want to practice like that. Like these are in a contract, you can list down the most funny practice ever. And yet if it's signed, if it's agreed by the both parties, it's read and agreed by the both parties, you have to adhere to that very special relationship, even though it doesn't make sense. Why people has a pre-marriage contract. In the pre-marriage contract, some of the things can be so absolutely ridiculous. Even in the pre-marriage contract, you say that your husband can have 10 wives and you can have 10 husbands. I can have 10 other boyfriends and my wife, I can have 10 other boyfriends and my wife, my husband can have 10 other girlfriends and we don't interact with one another. If it's listed there like that, yes, the normal marriage is one husband, one wife. You don't go and have boyfriends and girlfriends, but in that contract, if you list it down in that contract and both of you read that contract, and sign it and witnessed by the people and, send it for stamping, it's fine. You have to adhere to that, what is written there, you see. You cannot say that, oh, because marriage, in the normal terms of marriage, is like this, So when your husband starts to have 3 other girlfriends, you start to get, you start to take a knife out and chase after him. So no, you can't do that. See? So this is in the contract. So again, the contract terms and conditions can be really funny, can be really absolutely ridiculous, but as long as people in the relationship are actually actually agreeing to that relationship, you have to adhere to it. So it's like you say yes, you cannot later say no, I don't want that anymore. So that is about breaching the contract. Okay? So we can't have that. So that is law of Malaysia, is when you have that terms and conditions, it lists down that rights and responsibilities of the parties contracting with one another. That means your behavior, your relationship is set in that framework until this contract is formally terminated. And termination can come in many directions. It can come in a very mutual termination. It can come into performance termination. So we'll probably cover that in the 4th class or the 3rd, 4th class, most likely the 4th class. Yeah, termination is a very big topic to cover as well. So it could be by good performance, meaning that all fulfill your duties, you all fulfill your responsibilities, and everything is done, the project ended, you are actually formally released from your responsibility. The contract will end and you go back to your normal life of behaving like a normal person in the normal circumstances. If the contract never ends, you have to move on. So by holding into that, with that particular party that you're signing the contract with, that interaction will always be there if that contract is not ended. Okay, the ending of the contract, like I said, can come from many directions. So we will cover that later on. So now we're looking at different terms and conditions. So the terms and conditions in the contract, so this part of the notes is more on the client. What is the client, the role of the client, the contractors, and the consultants as well. So this part of the note, is like that. So I probably will shift this thing up to the other 1st class, so that I actually put it here because it was dealing with money, so I actually put it in 2nd class. But it's okay, so we will cover it. You will know where are all the notes anyway, so it's fine. So yeah, basically there can be an agreement between the contract. There's definitely agreement, not there can be. There will definitely be agreement between the contractor, the service provider, with the client. And then there are usually a contract between the consultant and also the client. If the consultants are actually the client's own in-house engineers, then basically it belongs to, like whatever that is being designed and all that should be belonging to the client themselves. And then there will not be another separate agreement with a consultant. Okay. And yeah, if it's done by the in-house engineer. So you probably have a lot of in-house engineers, that some of you who are working in manufacturing or chemical plant and all that. you may have a lot of in-house engineers that can do design, that can chop and sign design, they have IR with practicing certificates. So you don't have to engage a specific consulting engineers. But consulting engineers agreement between the consulting engineers are actually governed by the Registration of Engineers Act. And there are certain terms and conditions inside there that will actually follow the Board of Engineers requirement and regulation to form a proper consultancy service agreement. Okay, but the contract that we're talking about here will mainly be the service provider with the client, meaning that the contractor, okay, the contractor with the client. Okay, so you can see that I actually roughly list down the definition, what are the role of the client. So the client actually have, is the mover of the project. They come up with the idea, then they start to approve. They will look at your proposal of time, cost, quality, and then after that, they will actually give approval. They will approve things, like approve EOT, approve time, approve schedule, approve this, approve that. So they are the owner of the project. Normally, they're the paymasters. They are the owner. They can be the end users, not the end users. So in this case, there are some circumstances whereby the client are the owner of the project itself, meaning that they own the land, they own the final product that is being built, and they will be the one using it. But there are circumstances whereby the client will only build it and then they will sell it to another specific group of people, which is the buyer, and then the buyer will be the end users as well. And how do you cover that relationship between the buyer and the engineers and the contractor? Because the contract is being signed between the contractor and the client, correct now? So then if I'm the buyer and something went wrong with the houses that I build, that I buy, or my car run into, the hole that you make in the road, and then I have an accident, contract with the contractor. I don't have a contract with I have a contract, I have a sales and purchase contract with the client, but there is a deadline. After a certain period of time, there isn't any more of effect liability, so the whole thing is owned by the owner already, and then the developer actually don't have anything, they are actually off discharge already of the duties. So how the contract ended already? I cannot go, and after 5 years, 6 years, my house start to sengit sebelah, can I go back and look for the client? Basically, there's not much use if you go and look for the client. So, but then is that I don't have a contract with the contractor, I don't have a contract with the consultant, I don't have the contract with the designer. But that is actually covered under the law of tort. If the contractor and the designers, the engineers are not doing their professional duty to actually maintain, to actually do their duty of care to make sure that the facilities are as it's claimed, then in the law, you can actually sue them under negligence. So it's not totally without any more out. Okay, and of course, when we talk about properties, houses, and all that, the councils, the authority will also be a part of it. So meaning that that the authority, the contractor, the consultant all have responsibilities in the law of tort towards the people using your facilities. This is like a professional responsibilities, and the law cover that. Okay, so it's not like without hope, So you still can go and sue the councils, you still can go and sue the contractor if something drastic happens, like your house collapse, or your housing. I've actually, as engineers, I've actually seen 2 cases of house sengit sebelah, like literally sengit sebelah, like, and then until you're like kind of like working in the, like magic wonderland kind of thing, and you wonder like what happened, you see. So yeah, but and that was, of course, to that stage, the lawyers are already involved, and then they got us as a specific external consultant to go and have a look at the building to see what is the problem, to write a report, so that they're going to be suing the contractor or the developer, the contractors, and also the client, the designer as well. So that is another way that we can go. It's not that there's no contract is without hope, that's my point. Okay. So the client will be the end user. I mean, the client can be the end user. The client can be not the end user. The client are usually the pay master, meaning that they pay. Okay, they pay for the job. They pay for your job. You know, they pay for the design done. They pay for the construction that's been done. Okay, and then contractor, of course, is the person who are actually going to be holding the responsibility of providing the services, providing the material, providing the manpower to build, to actually manage to supervise the work and then get everything into reality, get, like build it up, and, you start to see your chemical plant, you start to see your platform, you start to see your oil rigs, you start to see your manufacturing line, you start to see your building, you start to see your road drains and all that. So yeah, so this is the primary responsibilities of the contractor. Okay. Then yeah, so you can read that through. And consultant, of course, are the designers. Usually they are professional bodies, like architects, engineers, M&E, QS, they all belongs to professional bodies. They have to, it's not to say that they want to or not. All engineers, all professional belongs to professional bodies that are self-regulatory, like the Board of Engineers in Malaysia, Board of QS, Board of Architect, Lembaga Architect Malaysia. So all these are part and parcel of being a professional. And then you normally their roles are into more on the design aspects. They do drawings, designs, and then tendering, they produce specification, they produce standards, they produce how the thing should look like and should be performing. And yeah, it's more on design based in the area of expertise. And also, of course, some of them provide management services to the client as well. So it is stated in the contract that they are providing supervision services, then they need to provide that supervision services, and everybody within the contract should do their duty in due care. Due care means that they have to follow the right standards carefully, make sure there will due diligence also, meaning that, if you're supposed to work 6 days a week, you have to come and work six days a week, and you have to work hard enough to finish the project. That is due diligence. Due care is like you need to make sure that you follow the specification, you follow the design, you list down problems, you discuss problems, you do problem solving between the professionals, the engineers and the contractors and all that. Make sure that the project is being done with the way that it was being designed, specified, the way that it's supposed to look like, meaning that it maintains its original integrity. So you don't want to build a 2-story house and then it end up looking like a 1-story house. Now that is off the hook already. I mean, off the line already. So this is like the project did not hold on to the original design and it becomes something else. So we do not want that. So basically, this relationship between these three parties, like I said, it follows the element of the contract. Then when they enter into contract, the terms and conditions will list down their relationship and the way their duties are, the responsibilities are, and then all the way up to the contract is being formally terminated at the end of the day, or when it's finished, automatically discharged of all the duties, then the contract aspects is basically over for all the parties and they can move on and do other things as well. Yeah. So these are the main elements of how you actually have contract. So now when we go back to the contract itself, okay, you will realize that there are many things that are being covered within the contract. Okay, and now the most common things are time. Okay, so in every I will show you the terms that we use in the contract. So when we talk about time, okay, first we will talk about schedule. Okay, in every contract, you are asked to produce a schedule. Okay, there will be a clause somewhere in there that would, okay, before I talk about this sort of main thing, for a lot of contract in Malaysia, especially for construction contracts, we do not actually sit down and write the terms and conditions from scratch. It's not from scratch. It's not from like zero. You don't sit down and I sit down, I'm the client, you are the contractor, let's talk, like let's list down, and then we've got a lawyer sitting beside me and say that, okay, I want you to behave this. I will give you this. You will behave like this. I will behave like this. And oh, Mr. Lawyer, please write it down. We don't do that. Okay, we should actually by right that is supposed to be the way that we draft a contract. But most contracts, because of our work, are quite, I wouldn't say repetitive by nature. There are some things that are quite common from project to project, means that it occurs quite commonly between project to project. So the project document, we will have what we call a general conditions of contract. It will be general. Those are things that are not very specifically for your project, but it can be applicable from project to project. Okay, and there is a limitation to that lah. So we call it general conditions. In these general conditions, it will cover the general issues like time, money, termination, few other things. There's a lot of things that these general conditions will actually cover. And then instead of like engaging a lawyer every time that you want to write a contract, and the lawyer may charge you percentage of the agreement, for example, then you'll be paying like what, tens of thousands of ringgit just to come up with one contract. It's actually quite expensive. So what they will normally do is we will have the general conditions, and the general conditions are usually drafted by professional bodies like KNM, Architect Malaysia, by IEM, by JKR, and by PWD. PWD is Public Work Department, which is JKR. So in Sarawak government, we have our own JKR Sarawak form of contract. West Malaysia, I think Natia, you all will know, you will use the PWD, Public Works 203, with the series of general conditions, different type of general conditions for different type of works under it. And I'm sure other industry also have something very, very similar to it as well. If you want to share, let me know, like what is your general conditions of contract. And then we've also got CIDB to come up with one of the general conditions of contract. Why? Because these people are professional bodies, so we give them, they are authoritative body, meaning that they are bodies that are, that handles a lot of contract. Like IEM and PAM, they are professional bodies, so they know what the work of the engineers are like, what the work of the architects are like, and how they interact with the clients and all that. So they are in a good position to do that. And of course, JKR, because JKR themselves, they are maybe like the papa and grandpa of all the infrastructure project in Malaysia. Whether in the old days they are fully in charge, or nowadays they are more into the supervision or the monitoring, it doesn't matter. Okay, but they are an organization that has been there for like since there is Malaysia, basically since the Federation of Malaysia, we have Public Works Department. So they actually build, like countless, okay, I would say countless of roads, power plant, buildings, schools, roads, water pipelines, tons of them, like countless of them. It's like stars in the sky. Malaysia is where they are today with the Public Works Department. So this Public Works Department, of course, it has the authority to write. If you want to contract with us, you use our general conditions of contract. So same goes that, like some big organization, they will have their own general conditions of contract, such as SEB, Sarawak Energy Berhad. They have their own general conditions of contract. You want to do work with SEB, this is our terms. This is our way of practicing. So you follow or not. If you want to be an SEB contractor, you better follow them. Okay, there's no room for negotiation for that. Okay, and then things like company like Sime Darby, and then for Putrajaya, like the whole Putrajaya, they have one type of standard form of contract by themselves as well. So I'm sure that if you work for Shell, Petronas, you have their own standard form of contract. Okay, so this standard form of contract, actually, it doesn't run away from the few things that we are covering now. Okay, from now onwards, it is mainly focusing on those items, those general items. Okay, so these general conditions of contract, when you have it, you just have to put it into your agreement with the rest of the other components. You have any special condition, you've got any drawings, any specifications, tendering document, And with these general conditions of contract, or what we call a standard form of contract, it's like a free size t-shirt for all the project. Okay, you put it in, this is the whole book, the whole stack is your contract agreement. Okay, but why we put tender document in there? Because tender is an offer. The contractor is offering to do the job for this amount of money. And then when the contract is signed, when it's received, and then when you're selected, when the letter of award goes out, there is an acceptance. The element of contract is very clear. Offer, acceptance. Okay? Then you have an agreement that have all the general conditions in it, special conditions in it, any specification, any drawings, and how you should be building, and when you should be building it, and how fast you should hand over the job, and how much the client is paying, and all that. Then it's made up into a specific agreement, it's signed and stamped, and then this is the intention to create that legal relationship, and the money there is the consideration. You see, all these elements are all there. So if you go and sue the other party, the court will take the case because this is a contract. Under the legal contract act of Malaysia, you actually have a legal contract. So the GO will play a part in it. Okay? So for your industry, what GOs will you use? That will be something quite interesting, So you need to make your GOs. You need to make your GOs. State all the important things. Many of us don't bother to look at our GOs. You don't know what GO is for. You see, it's a contract. Wow, never mind. Nothing happens, nothing will happen, so it's okay. I'll just manage the project properly. Then you do not understand what are that relationship between the two parties or three parties involved. It can be a tripartite. Okay, so what does it say about payment? What does it say about time? What does it say about quality? You need to read it. Otherwise, as an engineer, a lot of our job is to administer the contract. Administer the contract means that when things are occurring, you need to make sure that the parties are behaving accordingly. That is administration of the contract. That is contract management. So if you don't have knowledge on the contract, you are basically very ad hoc. If nothing happens, nothing happens. The contract will never come into the picture. Actually, to have a contract, it can be completely pointless. If everybody knows how to behave themselves, you actually don't need a contract. Okay? But if something do happen, you will refer back. You will need to administer accordingly. If as an engineer, as a contractor, when do I need to submit my payment? And then once I submit my payment, what does the SO do? And then after the SO verify, what does the client do? You see? So the client will release payment and pay the contractor. So these are very important elements of the contract that needs to be administered. There are time frames to follow, there are procedures to follow, and you need to follow that closely because you are a civilized person who has already signed your transaction with another party, and then you should be behaving accordingly to the contract that was agreed and signed by all the parties in the project. See? So do we understand all this background of why we are in the contract management, why we need contract management? So contract management, contract administration, they are using it, we are interchangeably using it. And why engineers must know contract? Because you may not be the one forming the contract, but you will be the one administering the contract. So if you don't administer the contract properly, you are not doing a job, your professional job as an engineer, to administer that contract. Okay? So the first thing is with time, most of the GO will state there some way that under the title working program. So you need to submit what we call it will list there that contractor upon award or upon a specific time, you need to plan for your work process and submit your working program for the approval of the SO of the contract. So let's talk about it in a very traditional mode. The relationship is you have a client who actually engage a contractor or a builder or a service provider to provide you with the facilities, service, and all that. And you separately engage a consultant, a designer to design and look after the project. So it's going to be designed and supervised. So in this relationship, you will need to submit the working program as a contractor. If you're a contractor engineer, you need to administer. So you'll be looking at the contract and say, oh, okay, now that we've already possessed the site, we need to submit the working program to tell the client how they are working. I mean, how we are planning to plan our time and work on the project. And that will usually include submission of S-curve, financial S-curve, which we'll talk about it more in the which we'll talk about more in payment. And then we've got a physical S-curve, which means we talk about the progress. So the working schedule with the physical S-curve will be submitted to the client. Okay, and then but the client will always get the SO to do the verification, meaning that the client will seek the advice of the SO. So the SO's job is to actually look into the submission and to actually support or not support. You know, you can use the word approve, but the final approval will usually come from the client. Okay, so the SO will be sort of like the manager. They will be the one that will check whether they agree with it or not. Then from there, when it's approved, that working program with the physical and financial S-curve will be the guideline of time of how the work progress will be carried out throughout the entire project. So if the project time was set signed as 24 months, the working program will be designed for 24 months to go all the way up to practical completion. It's not final completion. Final completion, final handover will only come after defect liability period. So your 24 months will always be whatever time stated, it will be to construct or to build or to provide the service within that particular period. It's for physical work. It's to get the facilities up to a point that you can function, it can function already. That is for the work. It's not about complete handover. The complete handover will only happen after defect liability period. So that time frame that is given for any contract, it will be always up to practical completion, meaning that the facilities can be handed over to the client for usage, but then the defect liability will start. Now, and then if there's anything that is not right, it will be done within the defect liability period. It's like a maintenance period. So meaning that you go and buy a phone, the phone is in your hand already, you're using the phone now. Okay, so you are the owner of the project already, meaning that the phone is functioning already. Same goes, the project is also functioning already. Okay, but you still have that warranty period. You're not fully discharged of your responsibilities yet at this stage. Okay, so once the working program is done, we have that particular work. The word here is called completion. Okay, so that completion will generally means that the work is already completed. Okay, so then there is a few criteria for completion. So the full completion means that you are discharged of your responsibilities, the risks are being transferred to the client already, the commencement of defect liability period, rights to payment, release of retention money, you know, and then you cannot further impose any damage, liquidated damage anymore, and then there will be a final valuation and all that. So basically, there's two components. One is composite as a full completion or the complete completion, meaning that it's already hit after the defect liability period. That is full completion. And then you've got a practical completion, which is more common, and this is called substantial completion. So this part here is the work. The work is already tested. It can be practically being put into practice already, put into function already. There is no obvious defects meaning that there's not any more pattern defects, but there's still some latent defects, meaning that some minor defects here and there, maybe some crack in the panes, the window is not really working properly, the pipe turn on water a bit soft, so all this we need to be, as long as it's not affecting the usage, the overall usage of the facilities, that is considered as substantial completion. We call it practical completion. So that means all the functional tests are done, and also at this stage, the authority also have already checked, meaning that there will be bomba coming out to look at all your fire extinguisher, your sprinkler systems. They've already done the testing. Water board has already accept your system test. Council has already come and do their round of checking and then agree to give road cert and OP. So these are the time that we call it the project, the date that we put there. Once the project starts, okay, we will talk about project start in a little while. So once the project starts, your clock starts to tick. And all the progress of work will be based on the working program that you'll be submitting. Okay, that you have already submitted and approved by the client, that this is how you're going to progress the work for the period of the project. Period, we talk about the duration of the project is 12 months, 24 months, 18 months. It can be something like 68 days, working days, if you want to put it that way, or 300 working days, if you want to put it that way. So whatever is stated as the period of duration of the project, that is the entire duration for you to complete the work according to the working program that is approved, that is submitted by the contractor or the builder, and approved, verified by the engineers, and approved by the client at the end of the day. This duration, okay, is going to have a start date and a completion date. So if my 24 months, starting from the 1st of April 2022, my practical completion date, not a full completion date, my practical completion date will be 31st of March 2024. Okay, do we understand that? So this here covers the whole entire 24 months. In terms of time, working program, duration, start date, completion date, these 4 terms is very, very important. You've got to get that properly defined among all the project contracting parties. It cannot be one person having this idea, another person having this idea. We cannot have that. In contract, everybody must meet the mind of one another. The three parts, all the parties within the contract must know, okay, what you mean by this, what you mean by that, what do you mean by this? Is this all? We all must have consensus of our understanding. The meeting of minds is there. If the meeting of mind is not there, then we are going to be in a big joke, You think something, I think something, and then you do something, and I say, what are you doing? You're not supposed to do it. No, it's supposed to be the way. No, so this is going to be a big mistake in the contract, whereby the word mistake, misrepresentation, all this usually comes into that area whereby people are not having the same wavelength, like the same thoughts regarding the contract and how it's going to be managed. Okay, so the start date will have to be something, and then the end date will be something based on the duration and the progress of work, and how the work will be carried out will be based on the working program. So most contracts will be very, very careful in stating, number one, how you define the start date. Okay, so we know practical completion is that substantial completion that you will be putting in, okay, that you'll be putting in for your end date, the end date of that particular contract. At end date, as in we still have that defect liability period, so we have that substantial, that practical complete date, that you need to put down. So that will be that duration, that covers the duration of the 24 months. So the 24 months is not saying that it will also cover up to full completion or final completion. Okay, so it's up to that practical completion. There will be time that we will have to do sectional completion. Many circumstances that you need to do sectional completion. Many reasons why you need to do sectional completion. Sometimes it's being stated, meaning that you build 60 km of road, so your contract is based on sectional completion, meaning that after year 1 you get this, after year 2 you get that, like from 0 to 10 km, and then after year 2 you get 10 km to 20 km. So you may sectionally complete it, and this has a meaning to it, because when you sectional complete the work, the client will treat it like they take over that section. When they take over, they possess back that particular section while the work is still ongoing. It is a very interesting concept whereby the full contract is still ongoing, but when they take over that particular section, that means they have to be responsible for that particular section, and everything else that are related to the contract that is regarding to that particular section will apply. Meaning that practical completion for that particular sectional completion is there, means that the defect with defect liability period for that section of the sectional completion will also apply. Meaning that if the full project defect liability will only end 36 months later, this particular section will end a year earlier, because you tendered it to the client a year earlier. Okay, so there are many circumstances why you do that. It could be because the project was already in a delay, or maybe it's already set up in such a way that you want to take over that particular stretch first, because you have some commitment with other things, other authority, or other reason why you need to hand over that particular section first. Okay, and plan. Sectional completion is usually pre-planned, and there are such sectional completion that are not pre-planned, especially during the event of delay, that you have no choice, quickly take over this part first. That is called partial possession. That is usually pretty much not pre-planned. Okay, so we will discuss the terms and conditions as we go along if it's not pre-planned. If it's pre-planned already in a contract, then that is a lot straightforward, meaning that every section is like being treated like a separate mini contract by itself, with all the terms and conditions for the main contract will apply to that particular section as a mini one. You don't sign another one, but it's understood as that. Okay. Then of course you have the final completion of work, whereby the work is fully handed over, the contractor is fully discharged, there's no more defect liability period. Even if your pipe burst the day after the sectional completion, after the completion of work, okay, then like the authority come out and say that, okay, we certify, everything is okay already. So we give you that full, the client will have a full possession. The next day, something happened, a pipe broke or some burst or whatever. Actually, the contractor is already discharged of their responsibilities, so they don't have the responsibility to come back and repair the work for no charge. You see, so at that onwards, if you want to get them to come back, you need to pay them to come back. Okay, so meaning that in that completion, normally testing, commissioning of the facilities is in function basically And then what else is there? What else is there when you talk about full completion? Okay, payment, definitely payment will be made. Okay, and all the payment will be cleared, and then project team are discharged. You are assigned to new people. After practical completion, project team are released already. They are discharged already. It's just that the builder still have a responsibility to come back and repair all the things that needs to be repaired if needs to. So there will be maybe a small team of it to be in charge of that defect liability, but the major team will be discharged. You'll be probably move on to other projects already. Okay, and then it will be stating that all the contractual documents, everything, are properly done. Certificates, testing requirements, are all documented. Any VOs, any authority requirement, all the letter documentation must be there for you to say that the work are completed. Okay, and then most importantly, we will always have this what we call an as-built drawing. As you build, as you do it, even in manufacturing, in chemical, all the same, you need to have as-built, because when we design, after you design, when you do the work, there may be changes in direction, in usage of materials, because various reasons. Not everything can be perfect. So all these changes will be recorded as you go along. And then after you record it, one of the final documents that you need to give back to the client is the as-built drawing. But if you change the sizes of the rooms, you change the orientation of the building, you change the orientation of the rooms, of the setup, all these things are very, very important. If you don't have as-built, if you don't submit as-built, just give you an example. If there's a fire, if the bomba will go back and look at the drawings that was submitted, and they will know, I want to go in and save these people here. So I know when I go into this building, I will move from this place to this place. My movement is very clear. I look at the drawings that were submitted to me. And if the as-built was not submitted, and especially, let's say, in between the client put up a wall somewhere, and when the bomba goes, they look at the old drawing, they muscle, this is not the room, Salah. There's no wall in that drawing, then you are going to be in very, very big trouble. First, the fire may never be put out. Second, some life may be lost because it's not properly being documented. Okay, so as-built drawings are very, very critical. You need to make sure that, especially for the authority to do maintenance, something as serious as a fire to something as light as maintenance, drawings has to be there. If I come to the site as the authority, I want to maintain my pipeline. It's supposed to be a pillar hydrant here, but no pillar hydrant, then how? Where's my pillar hydrant? I look, where is my manhole? Where is my Swiss valve? I want to shut water. I cannot find my Swiss valve because it was changed during construction. And how come it's not in the as-built? You build bridge is the same. You build manufacturing plant is the same. You build a line is the same. You need to give as-built. Otherwise, the people will not know where the changes are being made. Okay? And that could cause a huge impact later on, especially when there's problems. So now the project is handed over, people are moving into the house, and of course, we move into defect liability period, whereby there's supposed to be just minor defect. There's a lot of arguments on what is minor and what is not minor. Sometimes what you think is minor, but for me, you must understand that minor, it does not affect the function of the project or the function of the facilities. That is very important. If it's just a paint in the wall, the color of the paint is wrong, does that affect the function? If the answer is no, then that is minor. If the door cannot be locked, does that affect the function of the building? Yes, it does, because if the door is not locked, we will have problem later on. So make sure that you repair the lock ASAP. That is not considered as minor. So always ask yourself that question when you consider what you put in the defect liability period. It has to be minor. So we will also cover this a little bit more in that last class where we have defect. These are the other things that I want to go into more detail. But if we talk about time, these are the definitions. The end time will be defined by all these elements. Keys being handed over, the defect liability start, you hand over any training manual, testing, commissioning, documentations, all completed, apply for payment, the letter, you need to write up a certificate of practical completion. These are all the procedures that needs to be completed before you can consider as the project end date is ended already. But normally, all takes time. So what we do is we make sure that the day that we come back together to look at the facilities or look at the function of the facilities and that it is functioning properly, and we all agree that it's functioning properly, all the rest of the documentations, drawings, keys, and all that can be after that date. So that date is very important. So that date that you put down there as seeing all, like checking all the facilities that it is functioning, we must have that date first. And when that date is already confirmed, then the rest of the other things are like to support, the documents and all that can come a month later, 2 weeks later, within about a month, we need to get all these things sorted out, basically, to close the project. But when we refer back, even though your document can come a month later, does not mean that you are late for a month. The day that we confirm that this is fit for its intended purpose is the day that your project ended. So that date will be the date that we put in all the letters and all the documents, and all the deferred liability period will start on that date. So that date has to be fixed. Okay, so these are the end date, right? So then what is the start date? Okay, what is the start date? How come I don't have a start date here? I was fully concentrated. Oh yeah, because this is more onto delays. That's why. Okay, understand. Right. So what happened is we have a start date also. It's important to take note of the start date. Here's my part on possession of site. Okay, let me double check my notes. So basically, on the start date itself, some of you say that, Doctor, is it the day we sign the contract consider the project start? Well, you can say that. When we all sign the contract, it's not. Some contract will say that based on stamping date, but that is not a good one. That is really not a good one. If it's stated as a start date is a stamping date, then you have to follow. But normally for engineering contract, on the day that you sign the agreement between all the parties in the contract, we will technically also consider that as a site possession date. Okay? Well, that means the client now fully hand over the site to the builder or the contractor for them to be fully accountable and in charge of that site. We call it site possession. Not hantu possession. This is really possess the site as in you own the site. You literally own that piece of land or that piece of that area. For you hand over that area to the contractor. Sometimes the signing date is different from the possession date. And that is very common. I will say that 60 to 70% of the date of signing is usually different from the site possession. That's why in the contract documents, in the contract terms and GO, general conditions, there will usually be they will write there site possession. Okay? Meaning that as a contractor, once I sign my contract, if the client and you do not agree that the day of signing the contract is site possession, then within about 7 days to 14 days, you need to write. Some GO will write within 7 days. You need to write to the client stating the site possession date. Okay, so as a builder, it is my job to say that, I'm coming, I'm coming already. So you are saying to the client that after I sign my contract, I go back, I get myself ready, I get my team ready. And then I will write to the client and say that, okay, we will officially possess the site, or we are coming to start the work on what date. Okay, and the client have to agree to that. You cannot start the date 2-3 months later. That is not right. Okay, so usually the date is given about 7 to 14 days. Some contract may say 14, some contract may say 7. So within that period of time, you need to possess the site. You need to come in and say that, okay, I am coming to work, I'm going back now. After I sign the contract, I'll get my man ready, I'll get my machineries ready, I'll get my stuff ready, and I'm coming, So you need to write. You will see that later on. I will show you some of the contract that I have. You will see that they will be saying that, hey, I'm coming here. I'm coming to work. You need to write. So when you come to work on that day itself, then that is considered as site possession. and your clock will start. So that date of start date is the date of flat possession, and the end date will be 24 months or whatever contract period that was required. 24 months later, fulfilling all the requirement of the work completion, then it's finished. So this period here supposed to be within, before or on the day of the contract end. You have to, from a start possession, the clock ticks, then the end date plus the period of the work or the duration of the work to the end date. That is the official end date. But the official end date, let's say 31st of March, 2 years later, supposed to be, I will see all these things, making payment, releasing project documentation, testing, commissioning, all done, and that date is the same date. Then you are safe. Or before is also fine. Okay? If you cannot make it due to what reason? Due to that particular condition of completions are not complete. Let's say testing, commissioning not done. Okay? There's a lot of big, huge defects. And the authority does not agree to take over, does not agree to issue the road cert. Then you are not. On that day, you bring people to check, this is what is happening, then that date is not met. There will be a new date. Until everything is being fulfilled, then that new date will be the date. So not all the time that whatever the contract says the end date is, the actual end date is the same. Of course, we want it to be the same. If it's not the same, then we will be, especially if it's later, you are in what we call delay. And delay in contract is a big issue. It's bad reputation, it's big issues for every party of the contract. So we will usually, when they give you 24 months, 12 months, 6 months, or whatever, you will usually get the checking, testing, commissioning all done before that date. So that the latest by that completion date is the confirmation that you will get that everything is done properly already. So you've already fulfilled the idea of completion latest by that date. If a few days late, that is not too bad. Even a week or two, sometimes because due to reasons that, like authority are not available for checking and all these sort of things, like from COVID or whatever, that is still fine. It's still understandable. But if it's dragged on to over months and months and months of not fulfilling the idea of completion, then we are in trouble. The clock will continue to tick, okay? And you are officially in delay. Anything past the official end date calculated starting from site possession, you are in trouble, okay? Anything over that date. So we're looking at dates, a lot of dates here. Site possession date, contract signing date, site possession date, plus duration is an official complete end date with the actual completion end date is supposed to be the same or earlier. Then effect will start from the official end date, from the actual end date, plus 24 months or 12 months or 18 months, whatever is stated as a deferred liability period. Then you have the final certification, final completion date. Okay? And that is the flow of all the dates here. Do we understand this so far? Am I like killing everybody here? Like making you fall asleep or something like that? Do you want to have a short little break for you to go and grab a drink or something?
Sure can, Doctor.
Yeah,
Sure,
go
Doctor.
and- This is a 5 minutes break, huh? Anyone want to stay back and have a chit chat? We can chit chat, as other go for pilot run. Yeah.
Doctor, I have a question, but later after the break, can?
Can.
All right, Doctor.
Zain, do you want to do your QR? Anyone else who hasn't done their QR code can actually do their QR code now.
Okay, doctor.
Can do kah? Dapat. Okay. It's Adri, yeah. I haven't seen Adri's name. Mana dia pergi ya? Quit already lah. Do you see his name here also? Okay, let's get back with it. Are you guys back in already?
Yes, doctor.
Yes, doctor.
Is there anything you want to cover?
Sorry, doctor.
Yeah, you say you want to ask me something.
Yeah,
right?
actually, I have just a question lah, just wondering. When you talk about the final completion, right? So there must be a final completion there, right? Is it carry the same meaning or the terms and definition as a contract period?
Contract period is the, how do I put it? Let me show you a diagram. I think that would be a bit more clearer. Huh?
Okay, okay.
Wait a minute. I normally draw this diagram for my undergraduate. Yeah, so let me see if I can find it. Okay, where's my notes on yeah, here. Okay, right. If I look at this diagram, I think you'll be a bit clearer. Start date will be this first circle. Okay, so that is how we define start date. Then this is our completion date. Okay, and this is our final, as in after defect liability date. Yeah, these are all dates. If this is like 1st of April, 24 months, this will be 31st of April, 31st of March 2024. And then if the defect liability is 12 months, then this will be 31st of March, I would say, or maybe 30th of March, 31st of March. You should put yes, 31st of March 2025. Okay, and the meaning of construction period will be this line here. So construction period 24 months is here. This one. So completion date is start date plus construction period or construction duration. So if we state in the contract is 24 months, that is construction duration. And your working program will also be based on that duration. But this idea of duration is going to be hanging if you don't have a date. See? So there must be a start date, there must be a completion date. And this one here, we will usually list it as practical completion. This one here is final completion, whereby all the minor defects are clear already. And there is different duties, there's different level of duties here. So with practical completion, there will be, usually we will put in things like, not to say usually, the standard will be, it must be testing, commissioning must be done, as-built must be done, authority must have already come and check. All your client has already also come and checked with the authority. And then at this stage also, the keys will also be handed over. Whatever that is left only is basically the minor defects that will be carried out, or any other defects that will actually pop out. So if there's any major work that is not done, you are not allowed to call it practically complete. Okay, so this date here, it has to be entire scope of work is done already, is tested already, is functioning already. It's just that this is what we call a maintenance period. And we do allow, if let's say painting, like small things, maybe a few tiles, or something that is not critical to the function of the project. If there's few items left that is not done, we will usually consider that as okay. We'll put it in the defect liability period, but give the contractor some certain period, okay, to do this work here. We will not give them 12 months, but we will specifically tell them that you have to complete this list within a month or within certain period that is certified. But you are officially, technically already in the defect liability period. Okay. Sometimes we try to help the contractor in that way, so that it's not so harsh. You cannot make everything perfect. It's a balance that we have to create. As long as the items are functioning are functioning already, that production line is actually running already, the jalan sudah, then we consider that as it can produce things already, but mungkin not clean enough, or there are still a few one or two parts that are missing because of supplier haven't give you the manual or haven't installed that small parts, that's fine. Okay, but if that is dealing with functionality, we will usually say that we give you practical completion, but you must put in these parts or do these things in before this date. Okay, before a specific date. Okay, but there are some engineers or some SO or some clients who are very harsh. They will say that no, we want it to be, everything must be there. Even the considered as minor, they don't allow. And it is their right. They cannot allow it if they don't want to. But what's the point? Like, it's already finishing, just get it over. It's like get that relationship clean up, get it over and done with. I think that is fine. I mean, that would be my style. I wouldn't want to be like too harsh on it in a way, But there are some people who are like that. I mean, I face a lot of SO, a lot of consultants who are like, even the minor thing like little paint not done, they said that no, I don't want to give you practical completion. The pipes are functioning already, the pipe support are functioning already, it's functioning already, except that maybe the second layer of paint will put on the pipe, then they say that no, I don't allow it. You must put it on before we give you practical completion. There are people like that. So it depends on yourself, you see. So, but also it depends on the contractor. Sometimes the contractor are very, very they are responsible people, but they're just having a bit of problem, like maybe the paint hasn't arrived yet, maybe it got stuck somewhere. We understand that sort of problems, and we say, okay, never mind. We give you practical completion so that you are not being penalized for your LID, but you must finish this list A. List A is more urgent kind of work in a month's time, for example. Okay, so the rest is later on, small things within the 12 months you can do it. So that's how we can approach it. So are we clear, Riley, on the idea of construction period? Construction period is basically the contract period. But the contract period doesn't mean a thing if you don't have a start date and end date, correct now?
Yep.
Okay, so that's why we emphasize on the date and the period. It's just like you buy something. Okay, I buy a handphone. Okay, every handphone on the shelf, they will say that the period of maintenance is 12 months. Correct now. But when you buy it, they ask you to fill out a card. Kan? You buy any rice cooker or iron or whatever, any electrical appliances. You see, they always leave the card kosong. You see? And you have to fill up the card. When you fill up the card, that is you fill up the start date. And the period of maintenance and the period of guarantee is basically that period. They say that, oh, well, I'll give you 12 months guarantee, I'll give you 6 months guarantee on battery or whatever. But if you don't have a start date, they cannot endlessly guarantee you, correct now. So you must have a start date. And then the end date will be the end of that period. Within that period, then the end date will end. So then everything legally it will make sense. Okay? Any other questions on these dates and construction period? So this one here is basically if I have a delay, you know, my completion date is delayed, it didn't fulfill, it becomes later. So the defect will be pushed downwards as well. So if I have many delays and if I have a delay period, but I'm given EOT, that means my construction period has been extended, legally extended without any penalty. Anything that is not awarded EOT, extension of time, that end date will never be considered as the actual end date. That is without penalty. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Doctor. Sorry, Doctor, one more question, right? Okay, after the date of completion, right, a practical completion, then we will have a DLP, defect liability periods, and then we will issue the CMGD as employer, right? Certificate making good effects. So, just curious about the performance certificate. Is it the same as the CMGD or is another terms or definition? Performance certificate.
Performance certificate, I think for some machines, is it? Because for construction, normally we don't, I mean, after we put the certificate of making good, that is considered all done already. Okay, so your performance, can you give me a bit more idea of what do you mean by performance certificate in your industry?
Okay, basically I haven't experienced the performance certificate lah. I just know the terms of performance certificate whereby the employer will issue the performance certificate after the completion of the project, and then which include the DLP and the CMGD. Yeah.
Could be your project maybe is more machinery based lah, you know. So normally for construction, like for buildings or whatever, we don't really have that, you know. But if we talk about performance, maybe it's dealing with parts like the aircon of the M&E part. Are you M&E engineers or are you civil?
Sorry, you mean my current industry?
Yeah.
I mean railway engineering.
Yeah. Okay, fine. So I can understand why you say performance certificate. Yes, it's about, you see, when we build hardware are like maybe the rail itself, you know, and then the building itself, you see, the station itself, hardware. Okay. For hardwares, normally we don't have performance certificate. But if we say that we want it to run, like let's say we put a railway train on it and we start to run, you know, and then make sure the running of everything is fully, you know, performing exactly like what you need it to be performing, then we give the performance certificate. Yes, normally performance certificate we will give after defect liability period. We would not give it during penultimate. Because you need to let it run over the defect liability period, fully running, and then that is performing well. And it has to deal with some form, I mean, like performance certificate usually dealing with some form of mechanical machineries part, you know, like let's say the railways the actual railways, the combination between the railways and the train or the LRT or the monorails something like that. Then that is more on performance certificates. You're looking at the performance of the software and hardware at the same time, in that sense, you know. the interaction and make sure that things are running properly. So we have a performance. So your question is, does it come during the first stage or second stage? Is it like after DLP or before DLP? Is it?
Yeah, after DLP. Yeah.
After DLP, yeah.
Okay, thank you, Doctor. Now makes sense lah. My one. Yeah, I'm just curious previously. Okay, thank you.
So you're not sure whether you should be issuing the DLP during the plan ultimate or during the
No, basically, just to share lah. When I designed the contract, right. So I put the CMGD after the LP, and then my top management asked why do not use the performance certificate, because normal, which is conventional practice, we are using the CMGD right after the DLP. But now I have to put the provision for the performance certificate, which is makes sense lah. Why? Because maybe railway industry they include the testing and commissioning, which is involved also with the O&M lah, operation and maintenance. Yeah, so now makes sense lah. All right.
Correct.
Okay.
You can have the certificate of making good, the what you call the DMG, right? You are using it as a So you can certificate of making good. You can use it for all the hardwares, right? Let's say the buildings, the stations, those are the hardwares. So usually when you're dealing with the software and the hardware together at the same time, that is whereby you're putting in you can use that instead of using the certificate of making good. Because certificate of making good, if I were to explain it in a way, is certificate of making good is for things that are not moving, for example, okay, but the performance of the things are based on other mechanical parts as well. So let's say if I have a water treatment plant, my certificate of making good will be on the concrete car, on the structure, on the pipe, on the concrete, So those is hardware. So the certificate of making good are usually on the hardware. But when it comes to the function, like whether it's filtering the water, the filtering is functioning, the mechanical, the valve is functioning, and then it's actually performing according to the specification of the flow and all that, and then flowing from one tank to the other tank, and then after that, treating it and sending it correctly, doing the biology test, the E. coli test and all that. Well, it's done. So those are performance. You see the difference?
Yeah, correct.
So you can use both. There's no reason why you cannot use both. One can be for the hardware, one can be for the software. Yeah.
Okay, Doctor.
So again, also like let's say building. Defects liability period, we do defects for, let's say, the DMG, we will use it for like the door, window, the hardware, the building structure, the ceiling, is it properly all done, no holes, no things falling down, But when you turn on the light, turn on the aircon, turn on the lift, everything is functioning, you need to make sure that everything is functioning. And over that 1 year, the hardware and the software are interacting with one another, you see, and then you issue a certificate of performance. Then that is more on that combination of the performance of the entire building, which comes with, like you say, operation and maintenance manual and plan as well. Okay, so I think this is clear, huh?
Yep, clear. Thank you, Doctor.
No problem. And anyone else have any discussion? I think it's good to have discussion like that, because I can see where your needs are, you see. Okay. Rerouting? It's rerouting. Okay, so now we move on to another important part of the project. So now we have the start date, completion date, working program, construction period, defect liability period, working program, date, these are all time. And as an engineer, we have to make sure that we deliver the project on time, whether you're a client, whether you are, one of the conditions here is to deliver the project on time with good performance, within the performance of deliver them, but it must be functioning lah. It cannot be I deliver, but you tak dapat buka lampu ka, you cannot stay in there ka, everything is not done yet, you can't even live properly in the house ka, or you cannot drive on it. These are all wrong. The water pipeline, the water treatment plant, you turn on the button, nothing is running, it's not filtering, it's not cleaning, it's not pumping in chemical. That is all wrong. Okay? So it has to be on the functionable level. And then it has to be defined. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, like Riley, you say you are writing the contract documents. If you're in a contract, you have to define what you consider as completion. Okay? And what you can, of course, you wouldn't write like, certain things like that, we are not, it's okay, you don't write like that. But majorly, the way that you write that contract has to be encompassing the major items. The rest of the other items is subjected to negotiation between, on-site, down on the floor kind of negotiation between the contractor and the minor things, both of you can talk. You see, the client engineers and the contracting engineers for the SO can actually discuss. But majorly, it has to be created very carefully. You need to submit your SPU, you need to submit your operation and maintenance manual, you need to submit your it's completed, you need to get authority certification, you need to, or obviously must visit and already verbally agree, but you're waiting for the certificate like the OP card or the road cert card. That one is later, is okay. The actual paperwork is okay, but you must get a confirmation, on the day that you're doing the inspection, whether it's okay or not. Then after that, you also have things like, keys maybe are all, given to the owner already, and the requirement must be there, whether it's functioning, how is it functioning. You cannot expect perfect performance, and you must define what is considered as fit for its intended purpose, functionable, and testing, commissioning, all these things must be defined carefully. That's why I gave you a guideline on what we call completion. You see, what we consider as a full completion, or what we consider as a substantial completion, and what must be there to be considered as completion of works. You see, whether it's a full completion or a sectional completion, or whether it's a practical completion. Okay, so this completion of work, when it's in different level of completion, it does mean different things. So you have to be a bit more specific, But of course, we also do not want to have details, so much detail that you tie each other up so badly that there's no room for movement. So a contract must be able to let the parties also to communicate and to negotiate, to discuss, and to come to some agreement as we go along. Don't write contract that is so, tight. For me, like some lawyers would not agree with me, So if you want to go to the minor nitty-gritty detail of writing every A to Z, and like it's just like drawing a human being, but you draw every single pimple and every single thing on the face, until you also draw the ususa, the jantung, every single blood vessel. We cannot do that, honestly. You're just tying yourself down so badly that you will put yourself into a corner later on that you cannot escape. So better not, okay? And anyway, this is based on the principle that nothing is perfect, especially with construction site engineering. We are dealing with a very big environment, with a lot of people, a lot of material suppliers, subcontractors. Many people are involved, many things are involved, many money are involved, many parties are involved. We do have to be able to learn to balance, and not so much on 1 + 1 must be 2, and I do not accept anything else, like 2.1, so sorry, and black is black, white is white. There's no gray. You cannot manage like that. Contract administration, project management, quality management, unfortunately, is based on the principle that nothing is perfect. So workmanship cannot be perfect, material cannot be perfect. We are not robots, okay? So even if it's robots, sometimes robot can also go haywire, okay? So robot can also get sick, So we cannot say that contract should not be so timed to a point that you become like a robot, okay? So all this is setting a foundation and background for a very important issue that we do not want project to go into delays. And so what do we consider as delay? With the chart that I showed you just now, delay basically is going over that official completion date. So if there's a change in pushing down the completion date to a later date, earlier date, no problem lah. Earlier date is like, wow, fireworks, we can celebrate, with champagne and all that. Project is done. But if it's later date, the project, first and foremost, we will call it be running into a delay. Okay, a delay is what was the main topic here, the analysis of delay. So it's a time lag. Time is lagging the completion of activity from a specific time as per contract. So if it's being redefined as a later date, then it's fine. But if the date is not redefined, then you are actually lagging. Every day you are lagging, you are in a delay. 1 day is also a delay. 2 days is also a delay. 1 week is delay. 10 days is also delay. 10 months is also delay. So the delay does not say long delay, short delay. A delay is a delay. Okay? So contractually, when delay happens, you need to manage. And a lot of times for us as engineers, we manage even before the completion date. When you look at the progress of work, when they're saying working program, and any activity that is running off the actual period that was set down, the duration of the activity that was already a lot longer than the original one, and it is on what we call a critical path, then there is an alert that the final date may be affected. It's either you need to hurry up and find means of shrinking back that time lag, or you need to start to manage it already through contract. And contract is you will need to actually apply for what we call an extension of time, EOT. So every contract you need to manage as early, because the reason why you have physical S-curve and also the working program that was submitted earlier on is because as monthly as we go along, we want to see whether the activities are done. If the activities are not done, suppose we 100% done, it's only 50% done, that means that activity will likely to have a time lag, you see. And when it's a time lag, that means a delay has already occurred. Even though the overall contract has not happened yet, the delay has not happened yet, but it essentially means that a delay event has already occurred. There must be a reason why the work is not being completed. So it's an alert. You need to find out why. Okay? So there is many category of delays. Okay? There are some critical delays, there are some non-critical delays. When we talk about critical delays, means that particular activities that has delay is actually on the critical path. Okay? And if it's on the critical path, means that the overall duration of the project will be delayed. So if you guys have gone through project management classes with us, or you have gone through project management classes, you know what is critical path method. So if it's on the critical path, the activities is on the critical path, but it's undergoing a time lag, means that the entire project will be affected. If the activity is not in a critical path, it is considered as non-critical delay, but if further delay may actually affect the next activity and the next activity, and it may end up affecting the overall project as well. So we need to define whether there will be is this a critical or non-critical? That's something that we need to define first when the delay activity happens. Okay, and then we will look at the reason why the delay happened. Some delays are excusable, some delays are not excusable. This is where does the delay come from? If the delay are considered as those force majeure like flood and all that, then it is considered as excusable. And some of the delays may be like changes in drawings omissions things are not completely fully designed you know, there are a list of reasons we consider as excusable, and you have to follow the contract, the conditions of contract, whereby they list down what is considered as excusable. Like COVID is excusable, pandemic are excusable, acts of God are excusable, and maybe dealing with other authorities, like for example, you cannot make an appointment, the authority cannot give you an appointment due to many procedures or reasons that they cannot come and do inspections, and you delay that. So those are the finish already, but the authority or another authority that you need to apply for way leave. Way leave is basically saying that you need to dig this area, you need to touch the road of this area, then you need to get like a permission. Way leave is like a permission from JKR, whoever owns the road or whoever owns the drain, DID, JKR, councils, they are the one who owns it, meaning they are the one that doing the maintenance. It's handed over to them. So they need to give you way leave. So if you want to dig, you need to get way leave from maybe SEB, telecom, in case you affect the cable. You know, so all these are, and then when things are delayed by them, these are considered as excusable. Another very important one that maybe I did not put here is possession of site is late. There are many reasons why the client cannot give possession of site, and many of these reasons are actually dealing with land ownership. Okay, maybe let's say this land, there is 10 owners, and these 10 owners, some of them are not agreeable to the agreement. So then there's a delay in you being able to construct. Even the contract is signed already, but there is some issues with the owners, among the owners, that they cannot give you full possession. And there are many other rural native land whereby there are problems with possession of certain stretch, meaning that when you want to build, this government says it's government, but the native says that you are affecting my Datuk punya grave you are affecting my my plantation the compensation is not being paid yet you know, many reasons, title and ownership and native claims and all that. These are some of the very typical reasons why possession of site are not being fully given. And when the possession of site is not being fully given, then this is the reason why we call is excusable, and you must write in. Okay, you must write in to inform that something, a delay even. We will talk about that. This is a very contractual procedures thing. But you need to understand that when delay happens in any of the activity, first you look at the criticalness of the delay, followed by whether it's excusable. That means the reason for the delay. And then non-excusable is maybe your own subcontractor not performing, your own supplier, your own people are not doing a good job, for example. You're not paying salary and your workers are not coming to work for you, or you are not working with due diligence. These are considered as non-excusable delay. Usually, delay that is related to the contractor themselves are usually non-excusable, but delays that are related to the client, the consultant, the government authority, site possession, acts of God, those are considered as excusable delay, and they are all listed in the contract documents, okay, in the general conditions of contract. So you have to follow that very carefully. Okay, compensable, non-compensable, they are usually related back to the excusable and non-excusable. So usually if it's excusable, it will be compensable, but there are delays that are excusable but non-compensable. So meaning that they do not, they can say that it's excusable, but they are not compensating you with any extra money, but they are giving you time, but not the full entire time. Okay, So there are these are the concepts that are depending on, you know, they can say that this is under excusable delay, but extension of time will not be given, for example, or not fully given, for example. So, and concurrent and non-concurrent means that if there's a few delays that is happening at the same time, then if it's concurrent, meaning that from the same date there are a few delays, you cannot plus, you see? It has to be parallel, meaning that if activity A has 10 days, activity B has 10 days, activity C has 10 days, but they are all parallel activity, concurrent activity. So all you can grant is 10 days. You cannot grant 10 plus 10 plus 10, 30 days. Understand? Okay. So there are most compensable delays are actually entitled for extension of time and additional compensation. But these additional compensation are usually out of the picture, very, very much out of the picture. Okay, so you cannot go and claim for interest, cannot claim for extra expenses. Not likely, not likely. Most contracts, they cover themselves quite well with additional compensation. So normally compensable delay will be sort of given a time extension. Okay, so only excusable delays are compensable, and non-compensable, although it is an excusable delay, they are still not entitled for it. Okay, so nowadays there are going to be things on weather delay. Weather is considered as excusable, but soon they will make it non-compensable. Interesting, isn't it? It's like, oh, how does that work? You know, so it means that yes, they acknowledge that this is a weather problem, but they won't give you extension of time anymore, because they say that the contract period that they designed in the first place has already covered the delay. So we can accept that this is a delay, but we will not give you extra extension of time. So that becomes a non-compensable delay. Very rare that happens, but if it does happen, don't be surprised. Okay, so this is how we will analyze our delay. You need to look at it from 4 very important directions, and then once you analyze those delays, we need to go through whether the procedures are being met carefully. Most of the these are some readings for you all about where delays come from. This is from some of my research anyway. So just to give you an idea, there's a lot of things here from client and all that. But I wouldn't sort of test you on this. So it's more for general knowledge, these few pages here. Okay. So once you understand the concept of delay, meaning that you went over a time lag that went over the date of completion, and then you analyze those delay, whether it's critical, non-critical, compensable, non-compensable, excusable, non-excusable, and concurrent, non-concurrent. Once that is being studied carefully already, you will actually grant what we call extension of time or not grant extension of time. So when you don't grant extension of time, meaning that the time lag, the time date of the completion is not being redefined. It's not being redefined. Okay, so you will be still in delay. Okay, and the punishment will be liquidated damage, which every contract will have. Liquidated means that whatever days that the money is being lost, I mean the days, the losses that occurs every day you're not handing over your project are being converted to dollars and cents. So they liquidated it to the money amount. So per day, if I'm not selling my house, if I'm not handing it over to my customer, per day I'm compensating 10,000 ringgit to my customer. So I'm going to charge this 10,000 ringgit to the contractor. So in the contract, the LAD, the liquidated acceptance damage, will be converted to dollars and cents, and it will be stated in the contract documents what is the LAD amount. And every day or every week, depending on the LAD, per day, per week, per month, is all stated. If it's stated per month, that means every month that the project is in delay, there will be a compensation. And if let's say it's only half a month, then pro ratally, it will be calculated based on the per month rate. If it's per day, Then if you have 30 days delay, it's 30 days times by that rate of LAD. And that is the thing that needs to be paid to the client. And the client will not ask you to pay cash lah. They will deduct it from your next payment. So if your next payment, you're supposed to get 1 million for your next payment. So if you're already in delay 30 days and you are, let's say, 1 day is 1,000 ringgit, 30 days is 30,000 ringgit, the 30,000 ringgit will be deducted off from your payments. So instead of getting 1 million of payment, you are getting 970,000. Is it correct? No, 70,000 of of payment. Okay, so these are LAD. Okay, so how does the employer actually consider LAD? Direct cost, loss of revenue, additional administration cost, damage and penalty, interest and finance. So this is how legally you should come up with your LAD amount. Okay, so some people, they are very sneaky. What they do is they put a big, huge LAD amount, and if the people signing the contract are not careful, you're falling into a big LAD amount, like something like 500,000 a month kind of thing. Then you will realize that it is not, it is a trap. Meaning that if your contract is only 10 million, but they are charging 500,000 a month, then it doesn't work out to be that kind of, if by right, if you work it out, I mean, even if a logic sense of working it out of the facilities and all that, you will realize that they will never amount to 500,000. Meaning that if you actually put in a 3-month delay, your 15% of the contract sum is gone. That is ridiculous, okay? I mean, I have seen contracts like that before, and they are very, very dangerous. In fact, it is there to trap the contractor. So they purposely put a huge LAD amount, and the contractor goes in very confidently that they can finish the job on time. And then, but then you will realize that there will be many, many issues that they will cook up and start to dish out a lot of things that surprisingly is not their fault, and then it's non-compensable, and then end up you're getting into LAD, and then end up your project, they don't have to pay you a single cent after you finish the project, because everything goes to LAD. There are very, very tricky people like that, so you have to be very careful on that matter. But normally, legally, it's not supposed to be like that. Like if you realize that there's such a problem, you shouldn't sign the contract in the first place. You're better off not signing it. Even if you're signing it, later you want to go to court with it, it is still possible to fight for it, but it's going to be very messy. Okay, and normally when it's not dealing with a lot of it's not dealing with loss of property, life and death, going to court is going to be a very big, huge time lapse that is considered tying down the cash flow. Anything that goes into dispute later, you will realize that everything in the project will be frozen, including your money. So by going into the dispute mode, it's not a very healthy way. It's to nobody's good in that sense. So we'll cover that in dispute resolution now. Okay. And here, I think we cover LAD, and the procedures for extension of time is very much dependent on contract. I'm giving you here a JKR sort of form of contract for you to take a look at. So we have JKR sort of form of contract, clause 13, possession of site and commencement of work. So basically, it states here that the employer needs to give possession, he needs to date of possession. And yeah, the explanation are all here. And what is considered as commencement of work. And then after that, we have occupation and use of land. This is on possession. Work method statement and work program is all stated in clause 14. These are the clauses. This is the explanation. And then we have completion of work and what is considered as completion of work, and then inspection of works before the certificate of completion. I can explain this a lot better. I mean, I will explain this again. I will go through this again, but I want you to have a read first. Today, we spend some time on housekeeping. So maybe next class, I can come in and finish up this section with you guys. And yeah. So then we have partial completion. These are all related to these sort of things. And then damages. This is LAD. And then there is a clause on delay and extension. very clearly, most contract will have all this. It's just a matter of what is stated in here and how you define it and how you read it. And then we will see how to manage it accordingly to the time frame that is put into here. Okay? And then these are compensable. What is considered as compensable? Loss and expenses caused by delays, whether you can have it or not have it. So in JKR's form of contract, this is what is listed. I know some of you are not from this industry, so you do have your own form. So go back today, go and look at all these type of headings. Then you will start to see, I know now what is happening. Okay, delays, extension, and damages for non-completion. These are all the headings, the typical headings in your contract. So whatever that is written down there in your contract with your client or with your specific contractor, so you need to read the clauses very carefully. But the gist of the background of the foundation of it is what I've explained today. So if the time is not being redefined, means that LAD is not being granted, you will be going into delays, and delays will have LAD being charged. And then from there, your new date of completion will be the actual date that you finish and complete the project. The defect will be still 12 months or whatever period that is listed prior to your delay. It doesn't shorten your DLP. Your DLP will be still exactly the same period. That means your commitment in the project will be a lot longer. Okay. And as for the procedures, normally we will say the contractor, most contract will say that upon the delay event happen, meaning like what I said just now, the delay activity of the delay happen for that month, you must apply and write in to say that you reserve the right for application of extension of time, and then follow in by the application for extension of time. And normally, after delay event happen, within 7 to 14 days, you must put in the reason why you want to ask for extension of time. Whether it's being granted or not, or whether it's being assessed or not, it will be, can be later on, but you must apply as a contractor. So once you apply, or as an engineer, as an SO, you must advise your contractor, apply, you're in delay now. One activity delay, even though you're confident that you will catch up with it, don't risk it, apply for it. Apply for it and wait for the response. And normally supposed to be the SO need to assess it and write a report to the employer, or the employer in-house engineers will assess the delay based on what I've gone through: critical, non-critical, compensable, non-compensable, excusable, non-excusable, blah, 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 concurrent, non-concurrent, and then you assess and grant or not grant. So you will advise whether you want to grant or not. So in-house engineer will advise their bosses, the SO will advise the client, and the client will grant or not grant. So once it's granted, that means the contract date will be redefined, meaning that the date supposed to be 31st. If it's granted 30 days, make sure that you understand that it's 30 days of everything, or of all the days, or 30 days of working days. This is also a big difference. Working days, 30 days, and normal 30 days is very different. Okay? And get that definition correct first, that is granted 30 days working days, then your new date will be there already. So you should be insisting that, a lot of SO and clients, sometimes they're very lazy. They don't really do this thing as they go along properly. And that is not contractually right. You're supposed to grant or not grant, supposed to give an answer. A lot of clients like to do that at the end of the project, when the delay actually happens. I mean, it's stupid. Like, you get people to apply when the delay happens, but then you don't grant, or you don't even access it until the actual completion date is lapsed. So what logic is that? So when you get people to apply, you assess lah, kan? Be professional about this, you see. And assess it, grant or not grant, give a saying, give a date. And then if next month it does happen, you grant or not grant. Go by month. You know how much work it is later on when the date is already lapsed and you want to study 10, 20 EOT application. And then you have to go back and find the information, go back to the site report, go back to ask the people, go back and find proof whether it's concurrent, it's non-concurrent. That means so much work, you know. That is something that I do not agree with completely. Very insisting that application extension on time, you already state in the contract when it happens within 7 days, you do it, then you as client, as SO, access it ASAP within the same month. The information are fresh, things are there. Instead of waiting 24 months later, 18 months later, 12 months later to access all the EOT, and then what? And then just pretend like it's already LAD, you start charging, and then you say, oh, it's okay, I return the money to the contractor later. Come on now, you know, this is not the right way of practicing. So this happens a lot with government agencies. They like to do that. I mean, I don't agree with that. So I think a lot of government agencies are now trying to be more professionals as well. So they are also trying to be a bit clearer about this sort of things and make sure that their engineers actually get this thing. Because the government is different engineers in charge of different projects now. So why is there a problem of assessing LAD? You know, so much work that you don't have time, kind of thing. Yeah. So contractually, just everybody follow contract properly, then you should be fine. Okay. All right. So yeah. So let's you know, if you need me to redefine some of these things, I will do that next week, I mean, we're a bit out of time. I want to show you your assignment also before we leave. Any questions, anything that you want to talk about, we can have a quick chat as we open up the assignment. Do you find this class okay, interesting, like it, don't like it? What kind of question is that?
Interesting.
Related to your work, huh? I think it's this one. Okay. So yeah, after today, go back to your contract. First case study, the project that you're handling are currently experiencing some delays. Based on the contract documents, which is any of the standard forms that you're using, I'm not specifying any of the standard forms of your project, you are required to report on how you are going to manage the time, EOT, and LAD. So based on your contract, so what you need to do now is, for these particular case studies, just, I mean, like, let's say you give yourself 5 pages. So page 1 is about what is the project all about, and what is the project all about, and what is the delay that you're experiencing, you know, from where, you know, experience the background of the delays. And then after that, about a page and a half or so explaining the situation. I'm not specifying any specific situation. Like I said, there's so many of you from 10 of you from 10 different places. So it's very unfair for me to set something that is so construction, and you know, some of you just have no idea how to relate, you see. So if it's a manufacturing line, or whether it's oil rig plant or whatever, if you have any project that is, I'm sure there are projects that there will be an event or two that you're having a delay. Okay, so tell me what is the project, tell me what is the delay event, how did it occur, when did it occur, on which activity did it occur, and then after that, you report on the standard form of contract that you're using, or the contract documents that you're using. It doesn't have to be standard form, but it can be any contract that you're using, and then you draw out those clauses, which clause, you explain those clauses. I mean, if you were to put the clauses in, it can be very, very long. So what you need to do is, because everything here will be based on standard forms, you see. So all the four case study will be based on standard form. So you can put that standard form behind as your appendix later when you hand in the assignment. So what you need to do is just hand it in, and then you know, put it at the back, and then you write like which clauses are applicable. So you explain like clause 1, clause 2, clause 3. Just give an overview about the clauses, and then write about how you as the contract manager or project manager will handle these issues. So you say you will ask your contractor to, let's say you're from the client, depending on your position. Let's say you're in as a contractor. You said that as a contractor, you know, the team will first and foremost gather the evidence, you know, and apply for the extension of time. We will put in this this reasoning and calculations and all that, and then wait for the assessments of it. And then in the contract, it says that within how many days it will be assessed, and then whether the LAD be granted. So you can write a little bit on that, okay? So it doesn't have to be more than 5 pages per this is 4 assignments here. 4 assignments, but you can just put in one essay report, okay? So this is introduction, background, explanation on the related clauses, and then what are the clauses in the section relevant to that particular issues, and then express what is the rights and responsibilities of the parties in the contract within those clauses, and then what is the proposal for the problems and issues and conclusion, okay? So for each assignment, like I say, about 4 to 5 pages, I would say. You go more, I'm okay. But if you go less, I think a bit too short also, not very good lah, huh? I feel like this is manageable. It is manageable for you guys, okay? And try it out first with the first one, especially after the class today. I'll post out the notes. I'll post out the notes first, maybe on Monday. And let me clean up some parts. I feel like I missed my possession of site or something like that over there. So I'll need to go and check where's my notes. Yeah. So let me go through and rearrange it a little bit, and I'll put it back in again. And then you can start to work on this one. And then next week, when we go and do the clock in, clock out for you, if next week my classes is actually on, I don't know, I haven't decided, because next week I've got 2 classes and I'm not sure whether I can manage it or not. So if I'm really good mood, that's a good mood. Yeah, I mean, like if things are okay, I will probably just have a usual class, but I'll let you know. I'll definitely let you know in advance. By Friday, I will let you know whether it's a pre-recorded or it's online like this online face-to-face, okay? But no matter what, we will spend at least a few minutes with you for the attendance, and then I'll finish explaining the EOT, any questions that you want me to answer on EOT, LAD, and time management. And then we will move on, and you can show me your assignment if you want to, okay? So we'll probably spend about an hour or so on the assignment, any questions, any outstanding things, and checking in, and then 2 hours on the class. But the 2 hours on the class, like I said, I will probably do it with pre-recorded. If not, then just a normal class. And then, yeah, we will finish up. That will be how we are going to be managing the next 7 LUs, basically. Okay. Right. Anything else? Anything you want to ask for the assignment? I'll definitely post this up ASAP so that you guys can start to take a look. So case study 2 will be based. There's one that is on payment. So on case study 4, next week you can handle case study 4. Week 3 you can handle case study 3, and week 4 I think you can start to handle. By week 4 you can start to handle case study 2. Maybe I will sort this around a little bit, going according to the flow of our lecture. Yeah, I'll move it like this.
Doctor, I have a question.
Sure.
You mentioned about 4 to 5 pages. Is it one case study 4 to 5 pages, or all the case studies in 4 to 5 pages?
So all the case study for 4 to 5 pages, you write one.
Oh, okay. All right.
One
you,
case
doctor.
study, 4 to 5 pages. Even if I say that 4 case study, 4 to 5 pages, I think you will come to me and ask for extension. Okay, so I think per case study, guideline guideline does not mean that it is a must.
Better question. Regarding the case study, is it one project or can be a different project?
Different project.
Oh, okay. One case study, one different project lah.
And you want to use all also boleh. You want to use
okay.
one project also can. Every project, different project also can. Every case, one project also can.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. Thank you.
So doctor, for each of the case study, if different project, we have to do the introduction and background also.
Yes.
Okay.
It's supposed to be four individual assignments. It's just that I get you to compile and put it into one essay later on. So you hand in one thing, one document. So like I said, 30th of April will probably be quite tough. So by the time we go through 4 LUs, by week 11, you should be able to do all the case studies already. Then you need to hand it in right after your 4th case studies, And not much of an extension that I can give you. Most likely, even if I give you an extension, it will be another week or so maximum. But again, the more I give you, the more it will affect your exams and also your oral for RPs, So yeah, these are some of the things that I worry. I can give you up to even 7 or 8 of May, even up to 13th of May. I mean, no, not 13, sorry, that's a slip. If 13 already, I cannot finish marking. This is individual and there's going to be so many pages as well. So I need time to mark. Most likely is by 6 or 7, you have to hand in already. Before your exams, I have to hand in. Slight extension, no problem. But then we see how you go, okay?
Doctor, for the references, how many references should like minimum references do we need to have?
I think the minimum references that you have is that particular contract document that you'll be using, that's for sure. Okay. References is, as long as you do write about the definition, explanation of the contractual issues, you may need some references. So there's about four case studies here on 4 different issues. So for the contractual issue, even if you read like 2 or 3 books, I think there will be about 10 to 12 references here already, yeah. So we'll be looking at about minimum of 10 references. But of course, some of it is repetitive. You may read the same book, on the same book or same documents or whatever on EOT plus interim, So I mean, there's not so strict about it. I mean, like as long as you have, about 7 to 8 to 10, I think should be all right. Should be more than enough of references for this sort of assignments, yeah. Anyone have issues getting the project like case studies? Albert, just now you're asking, yes, you can all use one case studies, but you can use the introduction all the same. Okay, you can use one introduction and then you can put case study 1 is about what issue, case study 2 is about what issue, case study 3 is about what issue, case study 4 is about what issue. That means your project has a lot of issues. Wow, it's like everything that we have problem all end up in this project, then susah sangat. If you do have one project that is so problematic that you can cover 4 issues, by all means go ahead. Even if you have one project that can cover 2 issues or 3 issues, is also okay. You can have 2, 3, 4. Like I say, 4 project, 4 also can. No limitation here. Just find the one that is suitable for you. Find the one that you can write. Find the one that you can write more things. Explain more things, argue more things. That are the best. Okay. Anything else?
How about the format? Like the spacing, is it 1.5?
Yes, 1.5 and font 12. Typical like I said, it's essay so you can have you still have to have a background, title, page, intro, 1 intro or background, and then 2 3 4 So proper titling, proper headings, word. I don't mind. If you want to use Arial, also can. You want to use Time News Romans, also can. I think use Time News Roman or Century Schoolbook also can. I think that the typical ones are all okay. 1.5 word. 1.5 spacings because I'm getting old. I don't want to look at, mata drilling and this single spacing. Okay, get formatting done properly.
Okay.
Oh, if you say about words, it will be about 1.5 spacing. It will be about 1,005 kind of words per case studies. Is that too much? One page is about 1.5 spacing is about how many words? Let me see. Count. See, one page like this here is about 259 words, huh? So you're looking at about 4 or 5 pages, about 1,000 to 1,500 words per assignment. Like I said, write longer, I will not penalize you. There's no upper limit. 4 to 5 pages is about lower limit.
Dr. Ting, for the
Yeah.
section 3, section clauses of the contract documents relevant to the project is based on the notes that you're going to give, or how?
So your own contract document.
Oh, that is based on our own contract document.
Yes. So you need to explain like, okay, for these particular issues in your contract, clause 1, 2, 1.1, which clauses are the relevant clauses?
Okay.
And you need to explain those clauses, okay? Overall, explain those clauses, and you need to put those clauses in the appendix. Because if I get you to put these clauses in your assignment, it will look like this, you see? It will look like this. Then it's going to be a lot of pages. So this sort of clauses, you just leave it. Instead of retyping it in your assignment, you just put it in your appendix. You can just, PDF it and put it in your appendix later. Scan it and put it in your appendix. But in your main thing here, you need to use my example here. You see, clause 40, you see, clause 36 covers what? Consists of this is like the description of the clause. So, use this as an example. You can write longer. Mine is just a summary. Okay, so you can say that clause part 1 refers to what, part 2 refers to what, part 3 refers to what, and then you explain the clauses a little bit in point form like this also can if you want. Just use this as a reference for this section 3, like the format of it. Explain the related contractual issues is like explain EOT, LAD, and delay. These are the explanation of the related contractual issues. This is the clauses, okay? And you can combine these two together too if you want to, meaning that when you explain the clauses straight away, you list down, you talk about the rights and obligation also. So 3 and 4 can be together.
Doctor, for the case study 3, testing report meaning is the request for information like RFI, RFA, is it?
Testing report as in, let's say, maybe some tests are, concrete tests are, there's non-compliance. It can be a non-compliance also if you don't have a proper testing report. It can be a performance testing report, can be a water system testing report, a testing report that does not comply with the project requirement. The best is to look at the non-compliance. If there's any non-compliance report in your project file, that would be this can be a replacement of a proper testing report.
Can it be like defects?
You mean defects, liability period defects, or doing the work there are?
Defect liability period defects.
I prefer the project ongoing instead of the defect liability. Because defect liability is different way of handling. These are not proper non-compliance. I'm looking at non-compliances. How you handle non-compliances.
So it's like the client issuer the non-compliance report. So how do we tackle that? Is something like that?
You're supposed to go and back. If you have a non-compliance report, you have to go back and look at the issue. I'm looking at the issue that created non-compliance. The non-compliance report is actually a part of the part of overcoming the problem already. You issue a non-compliance report first, you see. already one step in taking and overcoming the issue. So it's more on the issues that the thing is we need to write down the issues first.
The issue that caused to get the non-compliance, is that
Correct.
correct?
Correct.
Okay, understood.
Actually, it's like the first one is on delay lah. Second one is actually on payment. Third one is actually on compliance, non-compliance, and fourth one is actually on VOs. So basically, these are variation orders. These are the 4 areas that we're covering here. Okay, I am done. If those of you need to go for other classes, please move out. If not, then I still can be here, have a chit chat with you. So let's call it a day.
Okay, thank you, doctor.
Thank you, doctor.
Class to go to.
Thank you, doctor.
Thank you, doctor.
Thank you.
Thank you, doctor.
Thank you. Anyone have any other issues?
Thank you, doctor. Bye.
Bye. Remember, get your RP going, everyone.